All right, folks, we're here again with another amazing edition of Mullings Music and Memories. We just finished a great show of the radio show with Mark Lee. And of course, we had some amazing guests, including Cara, who has become a regular here on IBM TV, as well as, of course, others also. So we've definitely had some truly amazing guests. And I was glad to have all of them on and to have Rahman Jamal, who is actually a great person in the field of music. He's part of the Hip Hop Congress, and he was on as well. So definitely some truly amazing guests in that category as well. So we definitely had some great guests, and then there were others there also. So like I said, Amanda is part of The Stairs, which is a film that will be shown at Nevermore, which is a film festival that is done regularly at the Carolina Theater located in Durham, North Carolina. So definitely look forward to folks checking out that interview. It was truly a great and amazing interview, and I hope that many of you will get a chance to check it out and see it in reruns and all of that. But it was definitely worth checking out, and I think a lot of folks learned a lot and all of that. So definitely was glad to have a number of folks involved in that particular activity. And of course, we do know a lot of folks are paying attention to what's going on in the world and all of that, because we do know that a number of things are happening on a global level. So we've got some great things happening in that regards. And of course, we might have some other guests appearing here very shortly as well. And I do have a pre-recorded interview that I did earlier, so I'll be sharing a little bit about that. But so many things are happening in our world today. And of course, we do know folks are paying attention to what the administration is doing, how they are handling a variety of things as they are now fully in office and are doing a lot of effective changes and all of that. I did hear earlier today that actually it looks like COVID cases here in North Carolina went down, and that is a great thing. The fact that they have gone down as opposed to up. So hopefully this will be a trend that we'll see for a while and all of that. So we're going to see how this all plays out and what happens in that regard. But in the meantime, like I said, I did have this amazing interview with Haley Jane, and she was a truly great lady and all of that. So I'm going to bring up that interview so that y'all can check out what that was all about, because I do think that y'all are in for a definite treat in that regard. She was truly amazing. We learned a lot and had some great conversations and all of that. So definitely going to bring up the interview with Haley Jane. That will be our guest for this particular afternoon, and I might see about if some other folks are going to join us before the 7 o'clock hour and all of that. And then, at 7 o'clock, we do have our regular conversations that we do on a regular basis. And I'm looking forward to some great conversations in that regard as well. So definitely, I think that y'all are in for some definite treats. And I'm looking forward to sharing a lot of great information with you based on the conversation that I had with Miss Haley Jane. And of course, we'll come back and talk about a number of other things as well. So definitely, I'm hoping that y'all will enjoy this particular interview that was done with Haley Jane. And like I said, it was a pre-recorded interview, but she is an amazing artist and she shared a lot of knowledge with us and all of that. So definitely looking forward to a great conversation with Haley Jane, and hopefully y'all will enjoy our conversation with her as well. So definitely, if y'all would just hold on 1 second, I'm going to bring up that interview, and I think that y'all are in for a definite treat. And I think that y'all will definitely enjoy everything that's going on in that regard. So definitely keep that in mind. And there's so much other things that are going on in our world. So I think that Haley Jane and what she's got to say should be truly fun. And we'll be back with this interview in just a matter of a second or so. So get ready to bring that up right about now. So hopefully y'all will enjoy this interview that was done actually on yesterday. But Haley Jane is a great visual artist. And like I said, there may be some other folks that will be hopefully joining us later on this afternoon as well. So right now we're going to bring up the interview that I did with Haley Jane. And like I said, she is a visual artist out of the California area, Sacramento, if I remember correctly, and all of that. So I'm going to bring that interview up and let y'all check out what this is all about. Add me to the stream. And sometimes we're just having problems. Oh, there we go. Aha. Get rid of that. Sometimes because of the wonders of the internet and everything else that goes on, we have to do pre-recorded interviews and all of that. So definitely we had the privilege of doing one with Sun to One, which was a great interview with a Hawaiian hip hop artist and everything on a couple of days ago, almost a week ago now. And of course, we aired that recently. And of course, we learned a lot about the Hawaiian music scene and a lot about a lot of other things going on in the community of arts. We know that the arts, like a number of professions, have been very much impacted by the COVID epidemic and the COVID pandemic and everything. And we definitely know that a lot of folks are also being impacted by personal economies, by a lot of other things that are going on in the world. We are hoping that a better and newer day is out here and that things will be much improved now that we have a new administration up there in DC and all of that. So definitely that's my hope. And I know it's the hope of many other friends. Actually was doing a show earlier with my good friend Zach, who does a show that I love the title of it, Funk from the Front Seat. And he definitely talks about funk music and all of the kinds of elements of funk music and what it's all about. And, you know, I definitely came from the world of arts. My folks started in that radio station when I was a teenager, and I'm now well into my late 50s and everything. But they started that when I was a teenager because they did not like the fact that there was not much jazz out there, and they were big jazz heads and jazz fans and all of that. So they definitely wanted to see more of that kind of music, wanted to see more news told of the minority perspective, and a number of other reasons that they wanted to start that radio station, even though neither mom or dad had any sort of radio background. Mom came out of the world of guidance counseling and education, and then went on to some fame and notoriety here in North Carolina in the world of philanthropy and nonprofits. And dad, both of them, by the way, still very much active and still very much involved in a lot of things in their life. But dad was actually trained in the more traditional kind of engineering, not radio engineering, but the more traditional kind of engineering, and had served in the military and done a number of other things, even been involved in civil rights struggles and things along that line. So definitely neither one of them had a radio background, but they got me into a radio at a very young age. And of course, I've been involved in radio and media. But right now, I'm going to bring our special guest on to the field so that we can learn more about what Haley Jane is all about. And I know that Eris is working with Haley Jane and everything. So definitely glad to have Haley Jane join us. I have had a chance to look at some of her work and see that she is a multi-talented artist, both a kind of a visual artist, and as I just mentioned, my dad definitely has done a lot of things, and he is actually a artist as well. He's a photographer, a sound artist, and a number of other things. And he's got a website called Bamboo Turtle because he definitely has a thing for turtles and bamboo and a number of other things. But he is known here in North Carolina as pretty much of a fixture here in our Durham community and our artistic community. So definitely I saw that you were involved in the visual arts kind of aspect, but you also had some music background as well, having played with a band. And I love the name Haley Jane and the Primates. So I saw that.
Oh, wait, that's not me. That's not me.
That's not you. That's not you. Okay. So we made that clear because I saw that and I was like, I wonder if that's one and the same because they had some of the similar kind of things and everything. So we've got that clear and everything. But just tell us a little bit about your background, where you're at, and also a little bit about how you got involved in the arts and a little bit about what you're all about. Because I do know that Eris did send me a video of your art piece where you were talking about your artwork and all of that. And we may play that after we're done with the interview, just so that folks can learn a little bit more about you, or maybe even during the course of it. But I would love to learn more about who Haley Jane is.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me on your show today. So I am an artist. I'm from Sacramento, California. Yes, COVID has definitely changed so much for the art community right now, just because everything's shut down, especially in California. Right. Luckily, I'm in Northern California, so I know LA has been really affected by it, but a lot of art galleries are closed, conventions. So it's been really difficult as an artist to step out of the physical showcasing things and more marketing online.
Right.
So I do a bunch of different types of art. I'm like Jack of, or Jessica of all trades, not a Jack of all trades.
Right.
So I do ceramics, sculpture. I do mixed media. So I take like elements from different objects and I put them into my paintings. I have a couple right here so I can kind of show you. I don't know if I'm on my laptop, so it might be kind of weird visually. Like this is one of my art pieces. So like I took like maps. So it's like, that's a map up there. See? And then I paint on top of it and then I resin coat it. So it's like almost encapsulated.
Oh, wow.
Like this one has music sheet notes in the background of it. Quote, but yeah, so I take elements of different stuff. And then that's like one of my ceramic pieces.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you. So honestly, like I get really bored at just one medium. So I move around a lot with the different types of art I do. Ceramics, painting, mixed media. What else? I design clothing. So I don't actually sew. I hate sewing machines. I hate computers. They just don't do what I want them to do. So I just design like the artwork on the shirts and stuff. Like this is one of the shirts. It's actually the Venus de Milo. I took because I do sculpture as well. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to turn some of these famous art pieces into like characters. So I design, but like I said, it's more like the artwork on clothing that's already pre-made. So I have a clothing line. So I design and have my clothing line. And then I also write, and I love writing music too. Not the actual like instruments, but like songs. So it's like pop, R&B, hip hop. It's like a mixture of different genres. But I am going to come out with the album that I did with my ex. He's a singer and a rapper too. So it's pretty amazing. I'll send you some music so you can hear it.
Yes, I would love to hear the music. Definitely want to hear the music and hear what the music is all about and everything. Now, were you the kid that when you were growing up was always into art and always loved art, or did art come to you later on in life, or were you the one that was like literally drawing on your school books and all of that?
I was actually drawing on my body. My mom thought I was gonna be like a tattoo artist, and my family's like super conservative, so they're like, "Oh my god!" I mean, I love tattoos, but I don't have any because they're like crazy about that kind of stuff. But yeah, if I didn't have a piece of paper, I would draw all over my body. Whatever I could draw on, I was drawing. Like I would get in trouble at school because I wouldn't be paying attention. Luckily, I graduated, so I'm good.
That's what counts is that you graduated and you got that degree, and that's what, or that high school diploma, whatever form of education you got and everything. But definitely, it's always good that you were able to have that aspect of it. But yeah, I know some folks that were like that. They would sit there and draw and just kind of enjoy the whole drawing aspect of their life and everything. Now, you said that were either of your parents or was anybody involved in your life also an artist or had any kind of creative background, or did you find other role models in your life, whether it was school teachers, whether it was artists that you may have admired, like Andy Warhol or like Rembrandt or some of the other famous artists that are out there?
So my family, they're not like painters or singers or writers or anything like that. I'm kind of like the oddball. I guess not oddball. I don't know how you would call it or whatnot, but like my mom, she's really good at interior design. So I guess you would say that's creative, but no one in my family draws or paints or anything like that. My dad's very good with words. He can write really well, but he has his law degree. He's been a member of the bar for I don't even know how many years. And then, but he doesn't practice law. He has a medical malpractice insurance company, but he's creative in the business aspect because he's constantly like creating businesses. Like he just came out with a company called Spit. So it's like trading cards or not trading cards. It's like a family game basically, like with cards. But he came up with this idea for these like cards, and it's like he's selling it. So I don't know, but so I get that like the creative business side from him, and then I guess from my mom like the interior design. But my mom's mom, she could sew. She could like make her own patterns and sew them and make like my mom's dog clothes. She made all my mom's clothes. So it's probably a combination, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But no one painted. So I kind of, and I had to kind of just like find my way artistically myself. And luckily, when I was 19, I did a study abroad in Paris, and I didn't speak any French, so that was really hard. But it was an amazing experience because I could learn about the different artists like of the past, and
Right.
it's just so fascinating to see. Like I went to Monet's house, like each room had a theme of a color. Like you walk in there and like the walls are yellow, the furniture is yellow, like everything in the room is like pretty much yellow.
Wow.
The kitchen's like turquoise. Like it was really beautiful to see like, you know, where he lived and, you know, hear about his life. And then I got to go to the Picasso Museum, and I didn't even know that Picasso did like sculptures and painting and mixed media. That was really fascinating to see. And then I got to meet, or not meet, I mean, I got to see Rodin. Do you know who Rodin is? He
Yes.
did he did like the famous sculpture, The Gates of Hell, where it's like there's like demons coming up. It's really
Right.
crazy looking. And then he did like the sculptures of like all the bodies and like the thinking man. And so it was really cool to see their artwork in person. And I don't know, it gave me like kind of some hope, because you know they have that stereotype starving artists, and
Right.
you know it's like, okay, now I see that there's other people that struggled, like Van Gogh, like he cut his ear off for a woman, like, you know,
Right.
obviously he was going through something, he didn't have it easy. So it's like, okay, I'm not the only one. I can survive.
Yeah, we can all survive. You know, we all go through a lot, and you're right. There's so many stereotypes that exist out there, and I'd love to hear you talk to our audience about that. And this is on the international broadcast media, so we've got a lot of folks that watch from all over the world, including Australia and South Africa. There's actually a young lady, Alexandria May, that has a show about her music career, and she's actually kind of the Taylor Swift of South Africa and everything. So she's definitely
Oh,
well known and everything, and she does a show on Sunday afternoons here on the international broadcast media platform called Alexandria May's Music Cafe. But a lot of times we do think of the artist as a starving artist or the struggling artist and things of that nature. So how did you get past all of that? And do you think that that's something that you have to have in order to be a successful artist? Because a lot of times we'll hear people talk about the fact that they feel that the artist, whatever the medium is, that they've got to have that suffering aspect in their life in order to actually get the creativity out. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that attitude, but I have heard that attitude that everybody feels that they've got to have some sort of angst in their life in order to get their creativity out. But I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
yeah, I could see that. Like, I think it's harder for people to create art when they're like happy and everything's going well, and you know what I mean. I still can. I still love to create no matter what, but I do find that when I'm going through something, whatever it may be, the artwork is 10 million times better than when I'm happy and everything's perfect, you know. But yeah, the stereotype starving artist, I hate that, because it's like it sets people up for failure. It makes, because like I never chose to be an artist, let's be honest, okay? I was just born an artist, and for a long time I think I fought it, like, oh, I can't make money at this, like there's no blueprint, there's no like layout, like this is what you need to do. You go to this class, you get your certificate, like you get your license, and then you're an artist. Like you don't have that as an artist. Like you can go to art school, but there's no say that you're gonna be successful or make
Right.
money, or anybody's gonna like your art. Like there's no guarantees. So I think that like that stereotype starving artist makes people think like, okay, well, if it says that, then I'm not gonna make any money. How am I gonna be successful? How am I gonna be um like be able to pay my bills just doing what I learned to do? Like, you know what I mean? So I feel a lot of people that are talented, like really talented in art, because I'll meet people that are like, you know, a secretary, or you know, they do something that's like a 9 to 5, but then they're like, oh, I'm an artist, I can paint, and then they show me, and it's like, whoa, that's really good.
Right.
But then when you talk to them, they're like, well, I couldn't make money at that, you know. So it's been a journey for me to get past the fear and those stereotypes, and figuring out my own kind of formula to make money.
Yeah.
I realized that going to like these convention kind of art shows is the best way that I've made money. Because I used to do like the local art shows, like, you know, just random art shows, and I wouldn't make any money. I would basically like pay sometimes to like be a part of a show, because like some of these art galleries, they make you pay to hang your art, which is
Right.
ridiculous to me, but they do. And then they don't have the clientele to bring to the art galleries to buy your art. So it's
Right.
basically like you're just spending money just to hang your art up for a night or a month or a week, and it doesn't sell. But when I did, like, I just, when was that, 2019, I did Scope International contemporary show, and that was the first really big art show that I did. And I was like super scared, super nervous, didn't know if it like was, if I was going to sell anything, if it was going to be like other art shows. Like, I had no idea. And I was my own art gallery, I was representing myself, and getting into one of those shows is actually really hard. They don't just accept artists not, backed by a gallery by themselves. But I think it was just like the right timing, and I literally sent like 30 paintings to this lady, right? And she was like, "We like that one painting. If you can create more of that, you're in, and you can have a booth here and showcase your art." So I created 13 paintings, because I already had that one. 13 paintings in a month, resin coated them and shipped them, and did an art show in Miami for Art Basel.
Yeah, and
And
I know. Yeah, because
and
I know what.
I sold 10 of them out of the 14, and I had no idea it was going to sell. I had no idea. But
Wow.
going there, there's so many like people that walk around, and they are viewing, like, because there's probably like 200 art galleries in one of those art shows. And each one has like a booth, and people can come around and they buy stuff, and then you get their contact info, and you build your list of people that you can start sending out your pieces. Like, this is my new piece. And then it like, once you develop like a email list, you can start building like a business. Whereas if you're just at an art gallery, no one knows that you can come there to buy that art, because sometimes the art galleries aren't necessarily marketing you, they're just marketing their show. So
Right.
they don't, so a lot of buyers don't know where to find you, or where you're showcasing, or anything like that. So if you can build like an actual email list, and like start keeping people updated with what's going on and what you're doing, then they can kind of come to where you're showcasing, and you can build your buyers, people buying your art.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that you talked about, that I actually had the pleasure of talking to a local artist here in Durham, North Carolina, and that was actually earlier this week. Mr. Charles Brett, if I remember his name correctly and everything. But he was talking about the fact that a lot of times, whether it's visual arts or performing arts, a lot of folks know about the talent aspect of whatever their career is. They don't necessarily know the business aspects. And it seems to me
Right.
that that's one of the things that you're alluding to, is the fact that we need to have that knowledge of the business aspect. And too often, a lot of times, artists, as they are developing and creating their craft, whether it's a fashion art or whether it's a sculpture or whatever, they're so busy concentrating on the creation and not necessarily the business aspect. So how
Right.
important is it for you to learn that? And it sounds like to me you had some of that already in your life from your dad being somewhat of an entrepreneur. It sounds like
Yeah.
there are other members of your family that are already entrepreneurs as well. So how important was it for you to learn that and everything, that business aspect of the career?
It was very, very important. For a long time, I started my company, Haley's Art. That's the name of my company. I don't know why I chose Haley's Art. It's kind of generic now. Now I wish I kind of would have named it like something different, but now it's kind of like too late to go back and, like, you know what I mean? I already built that whole structure. But I started Haley's Art in 2009, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing at all. I didn't really know business that well. I didn't know how to market art. I didn't know how to sell art. It scared the crap out of me, even thinking about selling it. I wanted to just have somebody do it for me. And then, so I just gave up. Like, I let fear like get in my way from really like trying. Like I was trying, but I wasn't like my full heart into it. It was into the art, but not the business side of it. So, like I didn't really sell anything. So I gave up. I got my cosmetology license. I went to beauty school. And then like I liked beauty, doing hair and stuff, but a lot of people would come in and, they would have dyed their hair with black box dye. And then they're like, hey, I want to be blonde. And you're like, you're smoking crack. Like you can't be blonde that easy. Like it's not going to happen. And then people are mad because they want a certain thing and they don't understand that you have to work towards that. You can't just be blonde like that. Like I'm not a miracle worker. Like I can make your hair look good, but you gotta like slowly get to that point. And it just got frustrating because, just people it's the way they look. So it really affects them. And it just got frustrating to me. And it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do art, but I just didn't know how to sell my art. So then 2018, I was like, I don't know. I just had this like divine, I don't know if you would call it divine intervention, but I just felt in my heart that I needed to do it again. So I just like went all in and started creating art. I got a publicist and I started doing t-shirts with my art on the t-shirts, and things just started happening. Like one of the publicists that I was working with, he has this company called Athletes for Art. And so he would do these like art shows with athletes. He would take, normally he didn't work with like just regular artists. He would do like NFL players or NBA players that were actually had an artistic background, like photographers or like people like that, but they're just happen to be professional athletes. So we went to Atlanta 2019 for the Super Bowl, and he had two different events. One was a charity event. It was Champions for Philanthropy with Josh, what was his name? Josh Norman? Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm not really into sports that much. I can't remember all the players' names. But Taikio Sykes, I don't know.
I can't remember it well. Like I said, I do follow sports, but don't always know their names.
They're gonna listen to this and be like, thanks, you totally forgot my name. That's awesome. So anyways, I showcased my art at these events with these NFL players. And then, again, building my following, by like getting people's contact info. And then we did another one. It was like media day for NFL players. So like a lot of people from like, like agents and newscasters, they were walking around and people had booths and like, just like small little booths, and people would walk up and would give them cards and all that kind of stuff. And then in Atlanta for the Super Bowl too, I had created 50 t-shirts to bring to sell to like at these events. Right. And I have a friend that's a stylist out there for a lot of celebrities. And I just randomly gave him a couple t-shirts, and I was like, hey, I just started this line, because he also is an art manager too. This stylist that I know. His name is Ronaldo Nehemiah. So he's Ludacris's personal stylist. So he like travels with Ludacris, like anything Ludacris is doing, he like dresses him and like styles him. So I gave him a couple t-shirts, and he like basically helped me. Indirectly he helped me start my company, because he put one of these t-shirts. It's actually this t-shirt, but it was in black with white. So Ludacris wore it to the EA Sports Music Fest for the Super Bowl on stage. So he sent me a picture of him wearing it, and I was like, what the heck? Like, oh my God, thank you. Like, you're amazing. And then so people started asking, like about the shirt. And then I was like, okay, well, I should just start a clothing line now. And I could just put my artwork on clothing, and that will just be another form of revenue, but it's still my art. And it's funny because like when I went to Paris, right before I went to Paris, I was doing hand painted t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that, and hats and shoes. And I didn't know how to silk screen or do direct to garment printing. I didn't know how to do any graphics. I didn't know how to do anything like that. I just was painting on some clothes. And it's funny how like it comes full circle. You know what I mean? I started doing that like a long time ago, and now I have a clothing line, like an actual clothing line.
And
So
speaking of that clothing line, is it strictly t-shirts or you'd have other products as well? Because I do know sometimes people do these kind of artistic clothes and everything, and they'll put it like on a sports outfit, they'll put it on a suit, they'll put it on a number of different things. So I was wondering if you could
sure.
talk about the clothing line and exactly whether it's only t-shirts or is it other kinds of items as well. Oh, you
I do
got it.
like hats and stuff. Oh, wait, I don't know if you can see. So like
Yeah,
I did the little. It says, "Oops." Yeah, I'm trying to get it to where it's like in the camera.
yeah, I got it.
So it's
Says
like a little drawing. So I actually drew this, and I have it. I have T-shirts that have the same logo too. So it's like a matching set. But
mhm,
I do hats, hoodies, T-shirts. I just started doing like shorts and sweat fits too.
okay,
So I'm slowly building on that. I mean, I've only had my clothing line for 2 years now.
okay,
Um, it's easier to do the shirts and hoodies and hats right now because a lot of these clothing lines that actually have like all these different varieties, like dresses and all this other stuff, they get that made overseas. And obviously, right now with COVID and all that, it's kind of hard to find manufacturers. And I'm doing this all myself, so I don't have any investors. I don't have any of that. I'm my own investor. I'm sole owner of my company. I do everything. I print my stuff. I market my stuff. I sell my stuff. I deal with the customers directly myself. I do the conventions myself. I ship my stuff. I do everything. So this is a lot,
yeah, that's
but
a lot to be doing and do it all on your own and everything. And I know that's part of the reason you teamed up with Eris and her team and everything. So hopefully they'll be able to help you with some of that and all of that. And definitely, I'm definitely glad to help in any ways that we can. I know one of the things that we talked about was the Art Basel, and actually one of the ladies that comes on regularly is a friend of one of the founders of the International Broadcast Media, and that's Kim Calhoun's fan, Scarlett. And I'm trying to think of Scarlett's last name. She's originally from the area of like around Honduras, if I remember correctly. But she is definitely one of the primary organizers of Art Basel and lives there in the Miami area. And I know for a fact that they're going to
oh,
be doing a lot of virtual stuff this time around. So I just wondered if you could share with us a little bit about how that experience of going to Art Basel was, because I've never been, but I have been to Miami. Used to go regularly to a theater festival. Well, regular if you want to call 3 years in a row regular. That was down there in South Beach, and that was the American Black Film Festival and everything. But I was just wondering if you could talk about what that experience was like going to Miami and the Basel Art event, being from the Cali area.
first off, I love Miami. I think I belong in Miami. Eventually, I probably would want to move there because they support their artists in Miami. It's crazy. Like just even looking around, there's so many murals, and um, the most money I've made is in Miami, like during Art Basel with my art. I love Art Basel. Everybody from not everybody, but people from all over the world fly in just to go to Art Basel. Entertainers, pretty much like anything you can think of, like actors, entertainers, singers, just yeah, like a ton of celebrities, artists. They fly in from all over the world, Europe, Australia, wherever they fly in because they're international shows. And there's multiple locations. They have the Scope, they have the actual Art Basel, they have a few other ones. I'm not really sure what all of them are called, but I remember years ago going to Art Basel my first time, and I was just looking around at these big art shows, and I was like, wow, one day I want my art in Art Basel. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what I need to do, but somehow I'm going to be in this. And I remember walking around it was the Scope show. I walked around and I ran into this artist, and his name was King Saladin. And he looked like he was representing himself. I don't know if he was or not, but I think he was. And I was asking him like how he got into it, and it just gave me a hope. He was like, yeah, this is my first time doing this. And I was like, oh, I'm an artist. And he was like, you should do this sometime. And I started following him after that. And I started seeing like all the things he was doing as an artist. Like he was on the Breakfast Club show. It's like a podcast. And he has like his art in the Louis Vuitton store now, like in airports. Like this guy he's doing it. He's a successful artist, and it gave me hope, like watching him, because I got to meet him, and I think he was like kind of just starting. Maybe he had been in it for a few years or something. I'm not really sure, but like just seeing his growth, I was like, wow, like okay, well if he's so successful, then I can do it. Just like it was almost like leading by example, So that was one of the reasons why I did that scope show. I was like, okay, so he can do it, so why can't I do it? Let me try. And so that I just one day I was like, you know what? I had a couple friends and they told me that they had art shows for Art Basel, and then it fell through. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to rely on anybody. I'm gonna try and do it myself. And so I emailed the lady. I told you I sent 30 pictures, and she picked one that she liked, and it was the map art that I just showed you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just created a bunch more of it, and she accepted me, and I got to have a booth there. And I think that was what really gave me like solidified myself as an artist. Like, okay, you're in a really big art show. You sold $19,000 worth of art. So obviously people like it. Like you're selling art, you're in a big show, you're in a different city, they're accepting it. I found this quote online, and the quote was so deep, and it's somebody else's quote, obviously, but it was so deep. Like I remember when I read the quote, it had the whole theme of, so like the maps are supposed to represent like finding yourself, because our lives are like a journey. It's like a map. We have to find out who we are, like what we want to be. We have to find happiness, and happiness isn't always a destination. It's not always like it's not people or things. It's within yourself. And so I have a lot of these quotes that are on my paintings are, happiness is not a destination. May the lost find their way. I have one that says, conquer the world every time you smile. Your current situation is not your final destination. And I took like world maps.
Right.
And wait, I just lost my train of thought. Why did I bring that up?
You talked about the different things and everything, and there was a lot of great things that you were bringing in that and everything, and I was definitely enjoying those quotes that you were talking about. One of the things that I know my dad has talked about with a number of times when I have brought up different corporations and everything is the fact that sometimes artists are sometimes overly exploited. I'll just put it that way. That sometimes people want them to give that free art and not necessarily get paid for their art and things along that line. So I'd love to hear your comments on that, because I do know that sometimes, and I've even been guilty of it, of wanting to reach out and have the art shown at a corporation or a number of other places, and they'll give you that whole line like they give musicians, that this is going to be for exposure. And as my dad said, I've been doing this now for like 15 or 20 years. I think I passed exposure and all of that. So I was just wondering if you could talk about the ways that sometimes the folks don't necessarily respect the artist in the sense that they might respect their dentist or their doctor or any other professional that they would expect to pay those people, but they don't always want to pay the artist, even though to me, the artist is kind of the very important aspect of our society. Because to me, a lot of times, artists, whether it's visual artists or whether it's performing artists, are where we get a lot of our attitudes, our beliefs, and things of that nature, because we hear a lot of things that they may be singing about or relating to, whether it's about life or whether it's about social consciousness or a number of other things. So I am actually a big fan of artists as advocates, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But first, I'd love to hear your thoughts about kind of artists that are exploited too much and people don't want to pay them for their services.
I've definitely had that before, a lot of times. And I think that that's why artists usually have like a dealer, a art dealer, or an agent that represents them, because it's a go-between. Because you can't go to the art dealer and be like, hey, can I have free art? They're going to be like, no, absolutely not. But I think that that's why, there is that concept of having somebody like as like a go-between, so that you're not like wide open for people to just, like take advantage of you. Unfortunately, I am the one that's doing all my own, everything. And when you're at conventions and stuff like that, people don't come up and ask for free art. It's just not, they just don't. They know that it's for sale. So that's why it's really cool to be at those kind of conventions, because then people aren't coming at you like that. I honestly don't like doing art for friends and family because they absolutely expect it for free.
Right.
Some don't, some do. It just depends on the person. But that's why I like to sell to like people that I don't know because then it doesn't come across like that. Famous people are the are the worst. They 100% think that they just deserve free art, and it's really frustrating, honestly, because yeah, like you don't walk into a restaurant and be like, hey, can I have free food? You know, it's with art. I mean, this is my job. This is how I make my money. This is my livelihood. This is how I support my son, how I pay my bills. And so yeah, it's frustrating when people expect that. You know, I understand if it's like your friend's birthday and that's what that's what you want to do. Like, hey, I'm gonna make you art piece because you're my friend and I love you and this is for you. But when somebody's asking for something free and they know that that's your source of income, I think it's a little bit disrespectful at times. You know, just because that's, you know, it's my time, it's my energy, and art isn't just you know, it's like a piece of me. Like it's like part of me, like on something. And so it actually means a lot. And just giving it to somebody for free that obviously isn't appreciating it because they're asking for it for free. So they're saying basically it's not worth anything. I should just get this for free.
Right.
So it's definitely been a challenge of mine. I think you just have to set boundaries with people, and if they don't like it, they don't like it, and if they do, then you know, then you can conduct business.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about artists as advocates. We know that came up a lot with recent when a lot of the WNBA and NBA players use their platform to kind of like talk about Black Lives Matter. But we've also seen artists do the same thing, whether it's musicians, whether it's visual artists, whether it's a number of other folks, including some of the great murals. I know there have been some amazing murals here that were around Black Lives Matter, that were in the Triangle and all throughout the country and everything of that nature. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about artists using their skill set as a tool of advocacy.
Um, I mean, as artists, we, you know, like back in the ancient times, artists were used to, you know, create like movements and, you know, like basically like speak, you know, it was like a way of like speaking, you know, a way of like saying their thoughts, but it was in like art form.
Right.
And we're also, you know, out there to like inspire people. Like you were saying, like our artists are very important in our community because, you know, we're inspiring people, we're giving people hope. We're, you know, not, we don't always mean to do that. It just happens, you know. That's why I think that like artists create when we're in a sense of like pain. It other people can feel that same feeling, and that's like music. Like say you hear a song and you're like, okay, I went through this and this is helping me get through a certain situation. Art is the same way. Music is a form of art. Fashion is a form of art. Like so many different things are forms of art. And yeah, I think that using our talents to express how we feel about a certain topic or subject is, I think it's important. My son is mixed, so I did do a few. I did one Black Lives Matter painting that I did finish. It was a Trey Songz. It was like a quote from one of his songs. I can tell you it. Hang on, grab it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the other art that I did with like how it has maps. This one has a map, but it says, "How many more marches? How many more signs? How many more lives? How many mothers have to cry? Set free from racism, let the people fly."
Wow.
So it's like, it's supposed to represent like, you know, just all the stuff that was going on this year with, you know, the killings and the protests and the riots. And, you know, I think that there's, again, a lot of stereotypes. A lot of stereotypes just ruin, you know, a lot of things. You know, people aren't always bad just because the color of their skin. It's about your character. It's about who you are as a person. And I don't think it's fair for people to judge that and then, you know, kill you in that situation. Like, it's just not okay. And I wouldn't want my son to be in a situation like that. So I felt very strongly about it, but it's hard because there's such like a fine line. Like I felt like I was caught in the middle because I am white and my son is half Black. And then, so I have, like my white family, and then I have, my son's family too, the other side. So it's like, and I have a lot of Black friends, and that time was just so like, it was stressful because like, like you got one side saying this, one side saying that, but it's like they don't want to understand each other.
Right.
And it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. And so I don't know, I painted a couple paintings on the matter. And yeah, there's been so many beautiful murals during that time. I have another one that I started, but I haven't finished it yet. It's supposed to be George Floyd and his daughter.
Uh-huh. Oh,
So I
wow.
started it. So
Oh, yeah.
it's like him turned around and then his daughter.
The daughter, right. Definitely. That's going to be real powerful. And I know a lot of folks will definitely be able to catch that when they see the daughter and all of that. So definitely that's a very powerful piece. And I know a lot of folks will be looking forward to seeing more of that work. You talked about the fact that you've got a mixed child and everything of that nature. Do you think that there's going to be a time when you're going to have what we in the African American community call that conversation? Because a lot of times, you have to be concerned about that conversation and how to treat the police officers or anybody of authority when they approach you and things of that nature. So how old is your child? And if you already started having that conversation with your ex about how y'all are going to deal with that? Hopefully we'll be in a better place in the next several decades and everything, and we won't have to have those kind of conversations, but they have been
Right.
on for decades. So I was just wondering, have you even thought about the fact that you will have to possibly have that conversation with him and everything? Because, they're definitely, unfortunately, Black youth are not treated the same way as white youth and even other communities. Because I've got a good friend that's Asian American, and he's even noticed the ways that they are treated differently. And another one that's Latin American, and even they are sometimes treated differently as well.
Yeah, I don't believe in racism at all. At all. I think that it's ignorance. I think that all colors are beautiful. We were put on this earth to be different. Like, we're not all supposed to be the same. That's I mean, if we only had, like painting, if we only had one color to paint with, that would be boring.
Right.
That brings beauty in this world. And
Right.
understanding different cultures, I think it's fun. Like, I like traveling and meeting new cultures and finding out what their interests are and what they do. It's fascinating to me. So I don't understand people that just have hate in their heart for a certain color. It's like,
Right.
oh my God, I hate the color purple. It's like, why? Why?
Right.
What's wrong with the color purple? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I try to like not get too heavy with the topic with my son. I just try to like explain it in a way that, some people make bad choices. The cop wasn't right. He made a bad choice. And, some people are at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's not okay. Some people don't understand that, color, someone of a different color is a person and they have feelings, and they're, just because they're a certain color doesn't mean that they're bad people or they're criminals or they should be killed or hurt or anything like that. Like, it's not okay. And, someday some people might judge you because you are a certain color, and you just have to be nice to them and still love them because they just think wrong. And
Right.
sometimes it's because of the way they were raised, and you can't let it like get you down. Just be who you are and know that you're a good person and treat everyone with respect, and you're going to be okay. My son has a lot of friends that, like, the neighborhood that my parents live in, there's like 4 parents in the neighborhood that my friend plays with that their parents are cops. And it's like, so he gets to see, and then he has his all different types of friends. Like, he has Indian friends, Asian friends, Black friends, white friends. And I love that about my son, is because he can like experience different types of people, and then he still has his friends parents that are cops, and he can understand both sides. And then my son's very good with words. He's really good, and
Right.
he's like very fair, and like people just love him, right?
Right.
And so I think that, like, just instilling in him that just good values. I think that, at that point I'll explain a little deeper, like the racism issue.
Right.
And I think he'll be okay, because he's a very confident kid, and he's respectful, and like he can get along with so many different types of people, and maybe he can influence people in a positive way to think differently. If some kid is like being picked on because the color they are, then my son can step in and be like, no, 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 I might not look like I'm Black, but I am definitely Black, and you're not going to talk to my friend like that. That's not okay. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that like raising him a certain way will help with that kind of a situation. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. It's interesting you say that because my friend Zach that does, like I said, the show that he's now moved to his own platform and everything, Nine on the Grind, Funk from the Front Seat, as well as he does a show here called Funk Music with Zach and everything. But he oftentimes talks about the fact that he's an older gentleman. He's a few years older than I am, so he's in his early 60s. But he's got two teenage daughters because he was a late life parent and everything of that nature. So being a late life parent, he actually one of his daughters is from the LGBT community. Another one is they're both very much involved in like I think one is more sports oriented and another is more creative music oriented. But he's found that a lot of times these young folks, like I would say the preteens. I've actually got two nephews that would be in that preteen range as well. But they are a lot more understanding of a number of these issues, whether it's around orientation, whether it's around race, whether it's around a number of other things. So they actually give me hope for the future. I don't know how you feel about it as a young mother, but they actually seem to give me hope for the future because I'm seeing them have a lot more open kind of attitude in the way that they treat people of different cultures and even different religions. I sometimes think that we get stuck too much in our way or the highway type religions and things of that nature. But these folks are like, no, it's all right that I might be a Christian and you might be a Buddhist. And they don't necessarily see that it's only going to be one way to get to heaven. It's kind of like you were talking about with the colors. It doesn't make any sense to me that that's just me personally saying that God would only give us one way to get someplace. So like I said, if this is supposed to be the grand destination, it seems to me that he would give us a lot of different pathways to get there. But you have some people that get stuck on that concept that it's their way or the highway, particularly those that are the more extreme types and all of that. But would you agree with me that our young people, particularly those that are young children and definitely preteens and teenagers, I would even argue young adults in their 20s, are have a little bit more of a positive kind of attitude, and they seem to be more open to being acceptable of different viewpoints?
No, I definitely agree. Well, I live in California too, so like there's so many different cultures in California. Right. So I was definitely raised differently because I'm around, so many different nationalities. And when you're around that and you grow up like that, like you learn to accept people. You're either gonna accept people or you're not, and if you don't, then you're gonna miss out on a lot. So I think also because like the like music culture and art culture, like everything is so like integrated and like meshed together now that I think that it influences the youth. Like music influences the youth, fashion influences the youth, art influences the youth. And these things that, like kids growing up, they're like, oh my God, I love this singer. Like he's Black and I love his music. And then they feed off of that. And they're like, okay, well, I love his music. Like, why would I can't be racist and love this song and love this artist? It just doesn't, it's like a thought process. And they like, I think that kids nowadays, they're clever. They catch on faster because we have the internet. We have like so many like different tools. I think racism is an ancient thing. It's like a dinosaur, because they used slavery as a form to control people because they were trying to profit off of a certain ethnicity group because they were trying to make money. And it's not right. Nowadays, it's really hard to enslave somebody that has the internet, that has all these tools. People are free. Like America, you can start a business. Like you don't have a dictator like telling you what you can and can't do. Come take your house. Like, you know what I mean? We have more tools and resources and, these different like, fashion and music and stuff. It influences the youth. So they catch on quicker. They have more tools than people from the past had. So it's easier for these youth to accept different cultures and travel and meet people. And, I just think that, I think it's going to honestly get better over time.
No, I definitely agree with you on that and everything. Changing the topic just slightly, who are some of the people that, whether it's fashion or whether it's art, you would consider to be your personal inspirations? Like I said, I did mention some of the famous ones that are out there, but there are newer people as well. I know that there is in the field of interior designing, there's a gentleman named Ron Woodson who's part of Woodson and Rummerfields, and I know he was on my friend Mona's show that she does, Mona Sheikh, who is a Pakistani American that has like this whole YouTube channel and other things where she oftentimes shares her things through Mona's rants. But he is a gay interior designer, African American gentleman, and everything. And then of course there's Andre Leon Talley out of Vogue, who a lot of people know and everything. And he's actually got connections here to Durham. And of course, there are great artists like Ernie Barnes and a number of other ones that I can think of as well. But are there any kind of like artists that, whether they were historical way back in the day, whether that be Picasso or whoever, or some of these fashion folks that you consider to be your own personal inspirations?
I have a lot of different inspirations. Like I was talking about earlier, that one artist that really inspired me, he's a young up and coming artist, King Saladin. He definitely inspires me because he does different forms of art. He does the fine art. He has clothing. He does trading cards for like baseball teams, and he's it's inspiring to like I was saying, like see people be successful in that field. So that he's one person that inspires me. There's an artist called Kaz, Kaws, and he does these figurines, and it's almost like a Mickey Mouse, but it's like a dead Mickey Mouse or something. I don't really know, but they're pretty cool characters. And he does huge sculptures. He does T-shirts, and just seeing his the way that he's influenced a lot of the culture, like you see it everywhere. Like if you look him up, a lot of people know who he is, and it makes me want to like do figurines, and that's kind of why I was like doing like the T-shirts and with the cartoons. Like he'll take this character, he'll create a character, make it into a sculpture, put it on art prints, put it on T-shirts, and he like brands those characters. And I think that that's like genius, because then he has like this whole he has a whole character, and people like collect it. They want the art, they want the clothes, they want the figurines. And then, so it's like, I definitely think that's pretty awesome. And then Jeff Koons is pretty cool, how he took like the balloon dog and then made it into these metal sculptures. That's pretty awesome. A lot of artists from the past definitely inspire me. I got this from the Venus de Milo, just walking around the Louvre. You see all these like famous pieces of art. So like this one, the Venus de Milo, the David. There's so many, honestly.
Well, I just want to give people like a feel, and like I said, they don't have to name all of them and everything, but just
Right.
a feel of some of the folks that might inspire you and everything. By the way, that artist that was here in Durham, I think I gave the wrong name last time and everything, but it's Calvin Brett. And when we talked to him, one of the things we talked about was how a lot of times folks art, what somebody might consider one person's art may not necessarily be somebody else's art. And we were talking about that. And a lot of times he was actually kind of almost calling me out on that, because he was feeling that a lot of times we don't need to necessarily try to define. And I know there's a famous quote about jazz music, and it was a jazz musician who said that he didn't necessarily like to be defined as a jazz musician. He just liked to be defined as somebody that did good music. And that's how he kind of like wanted to be recognized and everything. And there have even been folks that might look at something that is very common and not necessarily think of that as true art, because it's so easy to do. That's actually where the conversation I was having with Calvin was we were talking about kind of like those Apple figurines that everybody does, or the clay pots that everybody does, and things of that nature. And a lot of times folks may be like, that's so easy to do that maybe that isn't true art or whatever. Right. So what is your thoughts about that? Because we were having that conversation, and we were thinking about like how Andy Warhol basically found a can of Campbell soup and turned it into pop art. But now when you see a can of Campbell soup, even if you go to the store, your mind is automatically almost transported to Andy Warhol and things along that line. So what is your thoughts about those folks that may see something that is so easy or so common to do, like the things that we're taught in art school, and therefore they don't necessarily think of it as quote unquote true art?
Well, I mean, I feel like anything could be art. I don't know what religion you are, or what everyone believes, but there is a divine creator, and I believe in God, Jesus. But he's like almost like an artist. So he's creating, like he created our bodies. He created the ocean. He created the mountains, the trees, the flowers, our food to eat. So who's to say that an object isn't a piece of art because it was created, And so that does make sense though, because, some people, they might think like, okay, well, this banana duct taped to a wall is not a piece of art. But hey, at Art Basel, someone sure did walk around and buy a banana duct taped to a wall for $120,000, which is insane to me. I don't understand how that happened. Did you see that?
I did not see that. No.
You look it up. I'm dead serious. It was a banana duct taped to a wall at Art Basel. And someone walked around and said, I want to buy that. And bought it for $125 or $120,000. And then someone came and ate the banana. And then so the artist had to come back to Miami and put a new banana on the wall.
Had to put a new banana on the wall because somebody came and ate the banana that was part of the artwork. It's interesting. It's interesting you said that because one of the pieces that Calvin had is literally something like that. He walked around and found like cans of sodas and like beer cans and things of that nature. And I think he was really trying to make a statement about the environment and things of that nature. But somebody else might just look at that and just see a collection of basic trash and things along that line. But that's one of the pieces that he actually showed on his website and all of that. So we actually got a chance to look at some of what he was doing on the website. And I'm sitting there going like, as I was looking at the piece and he was explaining it, as he explained it, it made more sense because you could see that he was making a statement, kind of like Andy did with the pop art and everything of that nature. But a lot of times it's like that banana. You're not thinking of that as anything but a banana stuck on a...
Exactly. So yeah, it's funny that some people consider certain things art and some people just don't. So it just depends on the mind and the eyes that are viewing it. We all think differently. We all view things differently. So that's why they say some man's trash is another man's treasure. Like your friend that you had on here, he was showcasing trash. So somebody might think that piece of trash could be like, they could have like a whole sculpture of trash somewhere and it's art, and then some people might be like, why the heck is there trash right here? Exactly. That's trash. Like, you know what I mean? So it just depends on who's viewing it,
Exactly. Some people might be doing that and thinking that that's all that they've got going on and everything, and they'd be surprised at that. Now I did see, and I think this is the right one because it didn't have the primate on it and everything. But one of the things that you were labeled as on one of these videos, and there's a video that I found called "Doing Me Tonight," and it looks like they labeled you, and I can see that as our conversation is going on, the queen of the art scene. So how did you come up with that name? And it looks like you've got a crew of girls that are very close to you. So how did you develop this crew of young ladies?
I did that music so long ago. My new stuff is way better. I was so young when I started dabbling in doing music when I was like 19. I released a few things around like 2009. I probably should have waited until like I had like a label or like something backing me. So I took like most of those videos down. I still have some music on iTunes, but the new album that I just created is like on a different level. It's like the writing is way better, like the production is way better, the engineering is way better. It's actual like quality. So like back then, I was just starting out. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of put stuff together and I just created music. You know what I mean? I'm like, yay, I have an album. Now. Now it's like, okay, I actually like thought about the concepts. I like actually like, put together like a quality project. So I'm proud of the one that I just finished. I want to release it probably in like the next like month or two. We just have to finish up like, like all the branding and, stuff like that, like paperwork and all that. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I was going to let folks check out a little bit of what you've got on your website because that's what I did with Calvin as well. So there is a little bit of your artwork, and I know you've been showing us some of it, but you have categories called the originals, of course, your sculptures, and then, of course, your apparel line, which looks like it's called Dream World, and
Yeah.
all of that. So definitely, I saw that you have a number of these things. By the way, I love the quote that is on your page and everything, which is always illuminate the vision of what is possible. Because I do think that we need to do more of that and everything. Could you talk about the importance? And I'm going to show a little bit of the artwork. I guess if I click on originals, I'll get you some originals. But if I do that, and as it comes up, could you talk about the importance of social media? Because I do think that there have been some past people, including the person that currently left 1600, that did not do social media the justice that it should be done. But I do
Right.
think that artists do social media in a more positive kind of manner, and that it is very important for their sale of their art and things of that nature. So I'd love to hear you
Right.
talk about the importance of social media and all of that. And I'm thinking I'm gonna pull up some of the pop art because I am a big fan of pop art as well as surrealism. So definitely I'll pull that up while we're hearing a little bit of your views of the importance of social media.
Social media definitely is a great way to market yourself and reach new customers, collectors, people that can, like have a piece of your art. You never know who you can meet. Like it's almost like going to a convention, but there's just millions and millions of people. So you never know who you can interact with, and then then they're like, oh my God, I love your art. I want to buy something. So it's a great tool, to be able to sell. But it's very important as well to make sure that what you're putting out there, it's going to represent your brand and what you're trying to sell and what you're trying to do and who you are. So yeah, I think it's really important. It's amazing because in the olden days you had to be in front of people, and we can't always be in front of people. And it's when you're directly in front of somebody, sometimes your timing's off. When you're on the internet, you can contact anybody at any time and they can get back to you whenever they want. So I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome that we have these tools available to be able to sell our art, showcase our art, pretty much sell anything. People sell anything on the internet.
Yeah, they sell all kinds of things. There's actually a young lady, Veronica Jean, who has appeared on a couple of our shows as well as a number of other platforms and everything. And she is actually the e-commerce queen. So she's actually very much into using e-commerce as a tool for selling different things. And she's actually lives on a boat in Houston, and literally her and her husband live on that boat. And that's actually how they don't have
Oh,
a house. They actually live literally on the boat, as best I can tell. Like I said, I don't think they have a
that's
physical house, but they are literally living on the boat. And I think she's originally from one of the African countries, and I'm not sure if he's from that same country or if they met here or how their whole relationship came about and everything. But definitely, they are truly amazing folks, and they do some great things and all of that. One of the things that I was talking to Calvin about when I had him on was how sometimes people get sticker shock, and I know that came up even on your page and everything. What do you do when you have people that are having the sticker shock when they see some of the price points? And I do know that sometimes artists will set prices that they don't necessarily want to sell, and then of course they also set a wide range of prices because they know that there might be people that can only
right.
afford one sort of price, and then there might be another set of people that can afford the bigger set of prices. So they have different price points for different people based on where they are in society in terms of their own wealth and ability to buy and all of that. But then I do know artists that literally will set something because they have no desire to sell it. So they will probably set it at the level that only a Richard Branson or a Bill Gates can buy it. And if they happen to come and
Right.
get it, then they'll go ahead and probably sell it to them and then do another one of their own and everything. But they do intentionally set prices beyond that range because for whatever reasons they don't want it to go out of their property right now. But I was just wondering your thoughts about price points and how you set those price points.
I think that's important because like you don't want to lower your value
Right.
of your original. So I have like my original set at a high value. So that's for somebody that wants that exclusive thing, and that's the only original. So they get that exclusive piece. And then you have your like different levels of prints. So I have prints that, depending on what size, they range from, like 50 to 80 bucks, and then it goes up to like 6,000 or 7,000 depending on the, the piece. But it's like, you want to make it affordable for people that can't afford $6,000 for art piece, and then you want also options for people that have that kind of money that want to buy something unique. Like I have like unique art, like these vinyl pieces that are back here on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously there's not any prints of those. Like I don't have any prints of these pieces. This would be for somebody that has the money to spend, for a large like a large amount. So yeah, I think I think that having different price points is important, because then you can have more like, clientele, more collectors. I have a ton of collectors that are collecting my t-shirts. So, there's just different price points. Like, my t-shirts are like $35.
Right.
Depending on what store you go to. On my online store, they're $35. So yeah, I think that, you want to be able to sell something. Like you don't want to just like have things stashed in your house for 6,000 and then they never sell. So, having different options and price points for different people, then you can actually create a business and generate revenue. Because that's obviously the ultimate goal.
Yep, definitely. That is the ultimate goal and things of that nature. Another thing that I talked to a couple of artists about is how too often, and I'm guilty of this as well, too often we wind up having to do the day job. And I don't know whether you have a day job or not, and things of that nature. So how do you manage doing the artwork and also being, as you said earlier, a mom? So you're both a mom, you might have to do a day job. I know that I work for of course we're not doing it right now because it's pretty much shut down because of COVID and everything. But there's a cultural arts center, an African American cultural arts center here in Durham that I work with, the Haiti Heritage Center. They still call me in every once in a while to do some maintenance type, not maintenance like janitorial work, but maintenance in the sense of being in the building while the people are doing fixing and repairing and doing whatever upkeep they've got to do, or maybe there's like some virtual event that's going on that they might need me there for, but it's not as regular as it used to be. And then I've also worked for an education company where we grade test papers, and right now we're actually making those COVID kits, and that's like a very menial job in terms of like hand, and it's not using my mind or my creative outlets that I usually would try to be using, whether that's media or whether that's event planning or a number of other things. But how do you balance that work-life kind of balance that artists have to face? Because I do know a lot of artists, like you just alluded to earlier, there were artists that you were amazed that they were working in a restaurant or working here, but they actually were more talented as an artist than they were, say, as a waiter. No knock on waiters, because I've got a lot of friends that are waiters and cooks and work in restaurants on a regular basis, and I have mad respect for people in that field. Like I've got mad respect for a number of fields, but they might be more talented as a musician or more talented as a sculptor or whatever. But how do you balance that?
I think that day jobs are I feel like a caged animal when I do them. So I worked for years in different fields and saved money. And then when I decided I wanted to do my art, I had a savings, and then I just started like going full force into the art scene. And so I had like a cushion to like be able to pay bills while I was getting, a jump start. So I think that, for anybody that's pursuing a career, where there's no guarantees, I think that's important to have a savings. And if they have to have a job to like support their dreams and what they're trying to do, then that's okay too. Yes, you're probably not going to be as successful as fast, because your time isn't 100% into one thing. But we all have to do what we have to do, and we have to pay bills. So it's like, if you have to do that to be able to, provide have an income to like support yourself, and on the side do your dreams. And then if eventually the dreams take over, then awesome. Then that's the ultimate goal, and that's amazing. But some people, they get stuck in the 9 to 5 and then they never get out,
Yeah.
So I don't know, it just depends on like how people want to set up their company and what they're trying to pursue.
No, the reason I was kind of chuckling is because I've been actually having a couple of friends that have approached me. As a matter of fact, one of them called me yesterday. I'm sure one will probably call me later today, because technically we're supposed to have a meeting twice a week. And you're talking about that balance of what you need to do to be successful and everything. And a lot of times I will find that people will have those multi-marketing kind of businesses as well. So even though you'll tell them that that is not your dream is to do, like in my case, event planning and media kind of things. And yes, I don't mind doing the day job because it helps me pay the bills while even at my late life part of existence and everything. I want to pursue more the arts and media kind of stuff. And then they're going to sit there and talk about, like, and I can name names, Amway Prepaid, or a number of other companies, a travel company or a company else, that's going to be the way to get the money to do what you want to do. And I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute, I already told you that the day job is pulling from my time. And now you want something
Right.
else to pull from the time as well. So they're trying to encourage you to come into their business because their businesses are based on that model of more people come in, then more people make that money and everything. And you sit there going like, but wait a minute, did you just hear what I said? I said that the job was taking my time away from the real dream, and now you want to add something else to take away from the time.
Right. It just happens like that sometimes, right?
Yeah, it just happens that way. It's just amazing that folks don't think about that nature of what your dreams are. They're so busy trying to get their own dreams going and not necessarily paying attention to ways that they can improve your dreams. A good friend of mine talks about something. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. What he calls the brain drain, and it's this concept of that a lot of times folks will want to get your knowledge, but they don't necessarily want to give you the rewards of your knowledge, whether that's knowledge
Mhm.
in the art world or knowledge of a number of other things. He talks about how somebody might want to, he was actually worked at a local theater and had a lot of knowledge about theaters and the way theaters work. So they might want to get knowledge about how to get into the theater or how to set up a festival or set up something along those lines and everything. So they would get the knowledge, but then when it was time to actually pay for the knowledge, they didn't necessarily want to pay for it. They just wanted to get the knowledge and kind of like drain your brain. That's why he called it the brain drain that a lot of
Mhm.
folks face in the art world. And I think that that's in all of the fields of the arts, that a lot of times folks will get that brain drain. As one of the quotes that my friend Ray Pascal that I'm talking about said, is that everybody is a promoter. And I think you can even say this of the art world until it's time to pay the bill, because he would be the
Mhm.
one who was in charge of the rental. So his point was that everybody's got a great idea for a concert. And yeah, they can come to you with the idea, but at some point they've actually got to put money down in order to get the building, in order to get the concert and everything. So he's like, everybody's a promoter until it's time to pay the bill, and then you find out who the real promoters are.
Right. That's
So,
true.
yeah, and I think that you've probably even seen that in the art world as well. I'm sure that there are people that are probably present themselves as being promoters. You mentioned a couple of the folks that you've got great respect for that definitely are true promoters. And of course, Art Basel is a
Mhm.
truly promotional event. But I'm sure that there in California, you have run across the pretenders that will sit there
Oh,
and
yeah,
tell you
sure.
this or that. And then after you find out that they don't have the clout that they've got in their gallery, that they might be way on the bottom of the food chain in terms of being able to actually get you into the gallery, because it's
Right.
usually up to the curator or the executive director or somebody along
Right.
those lines, and they're way down in the food chain, and they probably can try to present themselves as if they are a gatekeeper, but not every gatekeeper is a true gatekeeper. So I was wondering if you could share some stories of where you might have run across that, some folks that might not be as legitimate as they claim to be.
Yeah, I've definitely run into that before. Some people will sell you a dream, like, "Oh, I can help you. I can do this for you. Like, it's gonna be great. Like, this will happen." And then comes down to like, nothing happens, and they just wanted to like waste your time.
Right.
So it just depends on the person. Like, you kind of just have to read through the BS, and some people are legit, and some
Mhm.
people aren't, and you won't know until you actually like experience it,
Right.
unfortunately. So, just paying attention and being aware of what people are saying. It's not always what people say, it's what they do,
Right. Right.
not what you don't, it's not what you say, it's what you don't say.
Yep. That makes
So,
sense.
so if you can kind of read between the lines, and I've gotten really good at that. In the beginning, I was like kind of naive and just would just believe people. And then I started paying attention, like, okay, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you into this art show and this for you and this for you. But okay, where's your action? Okay, you say
Right.
that, but are you setting it up for me? Have you sent me email with all the info? Like, when are the dates? Like, can I have a contact info? How do I submit? It's just like little things like that, like just paying attention to what people say. And if they're not following through, in a timely manner or backing up what they're saying, then obviously they're BSing you, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What is your thoughts on public art? Because I know that that's been very much in the news a lot of times, and people are big fans of public art, not just murals, but also those big public art pieces. Sometimes folks are fans of the public art in the sense of liking the local public artists, and then sometimes the local public artists don't even get the kind of recognition that they should get, and they'll go get like some big international person to do the piece or whatever. But what are your thoughts about the importance of public art in America and in the world?
I think that public art is pretty awesome. I haven't really done too much public art. I have a mural in a studio, I have one at a high school, and I have one at a gym. Um, but eventually I would like to do more. I think it's cool. It's pretty awesome. But I just haven't had the opportunity to do that. You get a lot more people seeing your art. You can inspire people easier and faster. And, I think that as an artist, that's what we want, is people to accept our art and love it and be influenced by it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
So
definitely, that's what we want, is to have that art influence and to have people enjoy it and all of that. How do you think we're doing in terms of, and this has come up a couple of times on my show and a number of these shows, as far as art as education? Because I do think that sometimes we've not been given enough support to art as a tool within our educational arsenal. And sometimes we even wind up cutting the art programs in our school systems. And like I said, your young child, I'm not sure if they're at school age yet or not, but if they are you even concerned as to whether they're going to learn about art when they go into the school systems? Because I do know that a lot of times art is one of the first things cut when we think about cutting things in the school system.
well, they're definitely still doing art programs. I think it's important to have art programs because that gives kids a way to express themselves. And some kids are horrible at science and horrible at history and math, but they're really good at art. So it's, if you don't have art, then what if this kid was like, what if I never had art in school and I just think I'm like not good at any of these other subjects, but you know in reality I'm really good at that, and I can't develop my skill and my craft and who I'm meant to be because they don't have that program. I don't think that that's good at all. I think that they should definitely have that because, we're all different and some people are good at certain things and some people are better at other things. So giving people the option to learn in what they're good at is very important.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What advice, and we'll get ready to wind down things very shortly, but what advice would you give to folks that want to pursue art as a career? Because we do know a lot of times folks want to pursue art as a career and all of that. So definitely, whether they're a kid, whether they're a young adult as you are, or whether they're somebody later in life. Like I said, my dad is turned 80 last year and everything, and is so this coming June he'll be 81, but he's still an artist and actually became an artist in the sense of like pursuing it as a career much later in life. I think he probably was in his I want to say in his 60s when he started doing art as like a really career kind of oriented thing and all of that. But definitely, what kind of advice would you give to folks that are thinking about doing art, whether that's going into the career at an early age or even coming into it late life? Because we do know that a lot of times people go through multiple careers within their life.
Right. It just depends on somebody's personal preference when they want to, start something. You know, Everyone's lives are different. Some people are ready when they get out of college. Some people aren't ready until they're 50. My mom, she always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher her whole life, literally her whole life. She started school, college, was very close to getting her degree when she was like in her 30s, I think, and then never finished because she was, a mom. She was married to my dad. They're still married. They've been married for 54 years.
Wow.
But at the time, she had two young kids, my sister and brother, and she just didn't get to finish school. But then she went back and got her teaching credential at 50 years old, and then became a kindergarten teacher at 50. So there's no set time when you pursue what you want to do. Like it just depends on when you decide to make that choice and take that leap of faith and actually put that time and the effort into becoming what you want to be.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. We know that, and I think they're both fans of the art, but we do have that new administration that's coming into the office. And as an artist, if you could give them some advice for what to do in this world and everything, both for the artist community as well as just for society in general. So this is your opportunity. I'll try to see if we can talk them into listening. I don't know how we'll talk them into listening, but if you could give advice to Kamala and Joe Biden and the new administration that's coming into power and everything, what advice would you give them?
Give advice to the president?
Yes.
I don't even know, honestly. This is a topic I don't know if I want to get involved in. I don't like. I'm not really super big into politics. I honestly didn't. You're gonna hate me. I didn't vote this year because I didn't like either of the people.
No, that makes sense. And sometimes folks don't like either candidate.
I just don't. I wasn't set on either of them, so I was like, okay, well, let me not choose for pick the worst one. Like I don't want to choose, so I'm just not gonna vote because I didn't want to. I don't know. So this year has been like a really weird year. Just a lot that's happened with our president, with like just a lot of things, a lot of topics. COVID, just it's been a really strange year, and whoever's going into office, I wish them luck because right now it's it's a circus show.
Yeah, it is a mess, and they've got a mess to contend with. So I definitely agree with you. They've got a lot to put on their plate, including trying to figure out what to do with COVID and all of that. I was actually just reading because I went to school in Milwaukee back in the '80s at Marquette, and I was just reading how Summerfest, which had been held for 54 years straight, was canceled for the first time ever last year, and now one of the headliners has pulled out for this year. So who even knows if that's going to happen? And I do know that I think Art Basel went virtual this year and things of that nature. So definitely,
Art Basel going to be virtual in December.
I think it's going to be virtual.
No, it was last year.
Right.
I really hope not, because I'm just worried for our future, honestly, because everything is closing. Like people are losing their jobs. Like it's so hard to do anything in this world right now. And I don't think that they should shut everything down. I really don't, because yeah, COVID has affected a lot of people, but at the same time, so it's kind of like, this is my analogy. Okay. So when you're a new mom and you have your first kid, like the moms are usually like, don't touch my baby, use hand sanitizer, like, oh, no, like, are you sick? Like they get very paranoid about germs and all that kind of stuff. And then by the second kid, they're letting their kid like put like, dog toys in their mouth and stuff. It's like, if you don't build an immunity, then you're screwed, because viruses, they constantly mutate. So the first round of virus is a certain way, but then it's going to get stronger and stronger, and it's going to, like mutate into a stronger virus. And so if you can't have an immunity towards the first one and, get COVID and survive it and do okay, then the next set of viruses are going to get worse and worse. So you don't have that immunity, that like foundation to be okay. And so you can't live your life in a bubble. Like what kind of life is that? What kind of life is that? You can't live your life in fear. And, yes, it is affecting some people in very bad ways, and you don't know who it's going to affect and who it's not going to affect. But do you want to live your life like in fear and in a bubble and like not be able to experience like going out and doing normal things? Because the virus isn't going to go anywhere. Like it's going to continue to be here. And yeah, you could get the vaccine or you could not get the vaccine, but ultimately we can't like shut everything down, because what kind of life is that? Like we're just gonna have this boring world. Like we're not gonna be able to do anything. We just have to like wear masks all the time and stay in our houses and just shelter. Like what the heck is going on? It doesn't make sense to me. They have outside dining at restaurants, but you're in a tent just like it would be inside of a building. But it's okay to do that, but you can't do it inside the building. I feel like it's a way to control society. Yes, the virus is very much real. It's very real. I had it in March when I did an art show in New York. I came home and I got sick, and I survived it. I didn't even have the symptoms like they said. I didn't have any breathing issues. I didn't have a sore throat. I didn't have a fever. I didn't have a stuffy nose. I had a horrible migraine for like 3 weeks, horrible body aches, no sense of smell or taste.
Yeah.
I had like stomach flu symptoms, and I went to the hospital, and they're like, "You don't sound like you have it. We're not going to test you." And I was like, "No, I just got back from New York. I was at an international show. I need to be tested," and it came back positive. So it's just funny how like, they just how this whole like how they've handled the whole situation. I just think that I think that there's better ways to do this. And I don't know if I want to get the vaccine, but I don't know. I think there needs to be quite a few test dummies beforehand.
Yeah, I'm looking. Well, fortunately, I think actually it may be this weekend. I think my dad is getting his along with his lady friend because he's been with his. My parents are divorced, but he's been with his lady friend for probably about 25 years or so, like that. And I think they sent out a family email, and for some reason, the 23rd is striking me in my head. And so I'm thinking that they got it earlier today. If not, it's coming up in the next day or two. So I'm hoping that I'll find out that it's going to work out well. I'm actually because they're in that older set. I think that a lot of times they're looking for what they call those essential workers and definitely people in the think 65 and over category. So I'm not quite in that age range and everything, pushing near it, but I haven't quite got there. So I'm not in a rush to get it. I actually wind up having to get tested every week. One of the advantages of that menial job is that, like I said, it's packing COVID kits. So they want to make sure that we're not getting sick while we're packing it and everything. So we literally have to take a test every week. So I have to do that whole nasal drip test and everything. And then put it into a vial and ship it off to them. So I know just yesterday the guy came in, he's like, all right, everybody's clean at least for another week. And we're all sitting there going like, so you mean we got to take it again next week? Drat. So
that's a lot. That test that hurts.
Yeah.
That's not fun at all.
It is not fun in the least bit. And I was just double checking what I said. Art Basel is actually in 3 primary locations. And they said that in another blow to Art Basel and its owner, MCH Group, the arts fair organizers has postponed the flagship edition in Switzerland for the 2nd year straight. So they are now looking at it, instead of it being in June in Switzerland, it being in September. So September is the date that they're looking at, but it does look like it might actually be in person, but I know that they're probably keeping track of that and everything, because I know that Art Basel is in Switzerland, in Miami, and there is a 3rd city as well, but that 3rd city is not coming to me and everything, but hopefully they'll actually get to have it there in Miami. I do know that Scarlett was talking about definitely some virtual aspects, so even if they have it, I'm sure there are going to be some more virtual aspects than in the past, because one of the things that I'm seeing even with school systems, and I've got friends that are teachers, is that this natural hybrid version of things is kind of what we're moving into, which means that it'll be a combination of in-person and computer virtual kind of things in all of our events. I've even heard that that might be the way that like the big sports events are done. Like I think the one of the events is supposed to be in the bubble. It might be the NBA finals. Well, I know the last year's one were in a bubble, but maybe the ones coming up, definitely the NCAA tournament, I think is supposed to be in a bubble. And they just announced that they're going to allow a certain amount of people into the Super Bowl in Florida, but it won't be the big crowds. I think they're going to allow, like, I want to say it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 22,000, with several of those being frontline workers and all of that. So it's going to be interesting to see this new wave, if you just put it. And by the way, that 3rd city is Hong Kong. So the 3 fairs are Art Basel, are Basel, which is in, I guess, in that whole Switzerland kind of area, Hong Kong, and Miami Beach. So those are the 3 that are the primary parts of their things that they've been doing. So it's actually over, looks like it was created back in 1970. So they're ready to like since 1970, says Art Basel's goal has been to connect the world's premier galleries and their patrons, as well as serving as a meeting point for the international art world. So if that was 70 and this is 2021, we're looking at almost what's that, 51 years?
Wow. I'll have to look it up and see what they're doing this year coming up for Art Basel.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see what they're doing for Art Basel and everything. Well, it's just been great meeting you, and you've been a great guest. You're an amazing lady and everything. One of the things I try to do with all my guests is give them any words of encouragement that they would like to share for our audience in general. And like I said, it is a global audience, and we definitely try to have folks encourage people in any way that they feel like encouraging folks. So if you've got any thoughts that you'd like to share, or any words of positivity, any words of encouragement that you would like to share with our audience, I'm sure that they would love to hear those words of positivity and words of encouragement.
Um, just always illuminate the vision of what is possible. That's my line on my website. You
Right.
know, anything is possible if you just work hard, you're persistent, you're honest, you just try, keep trying and keep trying, keep trying. Even if you fail, you just keep trying. You'll be successful, and anything can happen. The sky's the limit. So yeah, I would just encourage people to just not let fear stop them from pursuing what they want, and just go for it and take that leap of faith and believe in yourself.
Definitely. I definitely believe in taking that leap of faith and believing in yourself and everything. I do have to choose you about one of your other careers, the cosmetic career and all of that, because being like, and usually I try to get at least once every 2 or 3 weeks my favorite barber and get trimmed so I look less Santa Clausy and all of that. And that being said, I do sometimes think that as I get older, that even though my dad has not done that, and he's got white in his hair as well, maybe not as much. I'd have to see him and look the next time I see him. But I have thought to myself, I need to get my beard dyed so that I look younger. So I got about that. So I don't know whether folks are supporters of beard dye or not, but I have contemplated.
You're funny.
Yeah.
Just rock it. Just rock the Santa Claus beard. It fits you. It looks cute.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. And definitely, you've been an amazing guest and all of that. Oh, tell folks how they can reach you on social media. We did mention, and we showed the website earlier, which is HaleyJaneArt.com. But any other social media outlets that you would like to have folks know about you, whether that's Instagram, whether that's Facebook, whether that's a number of other things that you might be available with that you want to share?
So my Instagram handle is Haley's.jpg. So it's HALEY and then a Z.jpg. And then my clothing one is at Wear Dreamworld, and that's WEAR and then Dreamworld. And then my clothing website is www.weardreamworld. So that's again WEAR, like you're wearing Dreamworld. So weardreamworld.com. And my art website is haleysart.com, and that's HALEYSART.com. So you can check out some of my clothing, my art. I have art prints available on my art website, and then I have some t-shirts and stuff on my art website, and then I have my actual clothing line on weardreamworld.com. So that has hats, hoodies. I have a few dresses on there, t-shirts. So some different stuff.
And now, is there any place that you would love to go to that you haven't been to? Because like I said, you've traveled the world, you've been to Miami, you've been to Paris, you've lived in California, but are there any dream places that you would like to visit, since we are an international platform, and who knows, maybe somebody's watching, they can make that happen, or any dream customer that you would like to have happen as well? So maybe you've always wanted to have Shaq or maybe a Prince disciple, since we know Prince is gone and everything, like maybe Shelly E or somebody like that, wear your outfit. But is there any dream customer or dream places that you would like to travel to, or that you would like to have?
I mean, I love to travel, period. So I really want to go to Tulum. I've been wanting to do that for like the last few months. I just haven't gotten a chance because I've been so busy. My life is literally crazy. Like, I'm in the process of getting 8 orders out from clothing stores that I have to have ready by Monday. So I'm like literally printing all these shirts and like boxing them up and doing everything. So I haven't had a chance to travel at all, but I've been wanting to go to Tulum. I've been to Riviera Maya before, so I don't think it's too far from there. It's gorgeous. But eventually I would like to go back overseas to Mykonos. That's gorgeous. The white buildings next to the ocean. I want to go back to Paris again because I haven't been since I was 19. And I think I would definitely appreciate it a lot more than I did at that age because I was so young. So yeah, once everything dies down, I'll start traveling. Once I get all my orders done.
Once you get all those orders done, and it sounds to me like if anybody is watching and is willing to come and work for you at a discount rate that you probably could use that help as well. So if anybody's watching and they want to be like an intern, I'm sure
If
that
anyone
you
wants
might
to be part of my sweatshop, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
be.
No, I don't have a sweatshop. It's literally me sweating. Like,
It's you doing all that work and everything, but I'm sure that your friends, when they can, help, and I'm sure that on some level, at some point, you are hoping to expand where you can actually have a full staff and be able to have the ability to pay people in order to help you create this amazing art that you're doing, whether it's fashion, whether it's the painting, whether it's the other mediums that you do, the sculptures and other things. I'm sure that you're definitely looking forward to having that time in your future when you're able to
right.
be much bigger and all of that. As we wrap up, and I said that earlier, but where do you see Haley being 5 years from now, 10 years from now, assuming that we can get out of this COVID thing faster versus later? So where would you like to be, say, in 2026 and 2031 in your life and with your career?
I want to be in more stores. I just want to keep creating and having my art in different places, different stores, and tons of people's houses. There's already my art in a lot of people's houses, but I just want to keep building and get, you know, up the ladder as best as I can. I just got to keep trying. So.
No, I'm sure you'll do a great job at that. You're an amazing young lady, and I'm sure that the sky is the limit, and I am sure that you will be a tremendous success and all of that. I expect that after a while we'll be seeing your shows in the New York Fashion Weeks and a number of other places like that on a regular basis, because I definitely think that a great amount of skill sets that you've got, and I know that you will go very far in your career, even further than you've already gone. And I can already tell that you've been some amazing places, but I do think that you got even bigger things ahead of in your future and all of that. So that's my wish and prayer for you. And I definitely think that that is going to be coming true.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for having me on here and for checking out my art and listening. So
no problem.
Check out my art and stay in touch with me. Add me on Instagram.
We would definitely add you on Instagram and all that. I'm actually going to bring up our little banner that we use sometimes with the radio show, even though this will probably air on the online dinner party. But I definitely use that sometimes as a theme outlet and everything. So I'm going to put that on. And if you want to stick around, we can talk. So as you were seeing, that was the great conversation that we had with Haley Jane earlier, and definitely that was an amazing conversation, and we learned a lot about what she was all about and all of that. So definitely enjoyed having that earlier and enjoyed having that conversation with her. So we definitely know that a lot of amazing things were shared and all of that. So definitely hoping that many folks were checking out what she was all about and learning more and more about her and all of that. So definitely hoping that folks will check out a number of other things that are going on in our world and with our world and all of that. So definitely glad that y'all were able to check out what she was doing and what she was all about. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here now seeing that we've actually got a retired Superior Court judge that is thinking about running for our mayor here in Durham. So that ought to be interesting and everything. But it does say that retired Superior Court Judge Elaine O'Neill will be running for mayor in the Bull City this year. And she said that earlier today on Monday. Born and raised in Durham. And as a matter of fact, I've known Judge O'Neill for a while. She said that she loves her hometown and will formally announce her campaign and platform after spending the next 2 months listening to residents about what they want from their mayor. I want to hear from the community, she said. I want to hear from my neighbors, my fellow Durhamites. So that's some of the things that she's hoping to do is to let folks know what she's all about and how she is planning to run her campaign and all of that. Our current mayor, Steve Schul, told the News and Observer on Monday that he will announce soon whether he will seek re-election. So we're waiting to hear whether he's going to seek re-election or not. O'Neill has worked as the interim dean of North Carolina Central University School of Law from 2018 to 2020. So she's been over there during that time, and that's where she's been keeping busy at and all of that. In her judiciary career, she started out by serving as a North Carolina District Court judge in 1994 and was elected to the Superior Court bench in 2011, where she served in the 14th District. She retired before assuming her university leadership role. O'Neill recently served as chair of the city's Racial Equity Task Force, which delivered a 60-page report to the Durham City Council in July on how Durham can address systematic racism at a local level. She worked on the report alongside 16 other members. I'm a believer in equity. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been a part of that, is something that she said. And a person that I've known for a while, Omar Beasley, a member and former chair of the Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People, has said that he will be working with O'Neill on her campaign in a personal capacity outside of his work with the committee. I think Durham is ready to make history as well. She would be the first African American woman to serve as the mayor, and that's something that is going on in that regards and everything along that line. So definitely, we do know that she's going to run, and it sounds like Mr. Beasley will be helping her in the campaign as all of that. By the way, the committee has not officially endorsed any candidate this year, and it won't until after August. As a matter of fact, that's generally when they do that whole process and everything, where the candidates are interviewed and all of that, and then they make an endorsement. O'Neill says she will hear from as many Durham residents as she can before she starts offering her own opinions on the city's issues. I don't come in with any sort of set agenda before I even start talking to people. That's not how I normally operate, O'Neill said. When I was, at the law school, that was the first thing I did. I spent the first 90 days talking to everybody that was in the building that worked there. She also says she'll be spending the next few months learning more about what a mayor can and cannot do. That's right. It's always good to know what you're able to do and not able to do before you decide to run for any of these kinds of offices. I'm not looking to be a savior. I cannot be that person, she said. However, I can and have led organizations. She said she wants to be a mayor for everybody. What do we want, Durham, as a collective? How do we unify? What does that mean? Because that can mean 500 different things, she said. If you ask a person, what does justice mean? Everybody has a different opinion of that. But there are some commonalities that we can pull. I can't guess at that. I need to be able to, she added, I need to be able to see people to the extent that I can in COVID. It's just a different kind of campaign. So Beasley said that O'Neill definitely knows Durham well, and I would definitely say that she's been involved in a number of things here in the Durham community. But one of the things that Beasley said is that she uniquely understands the issues of violence in our streets. Being from here, understanding the wealth gap and disparities here, having served on a bench and being witness to all of that. She's going to bring a unique voice and an attentive ear, a keen sense of awareness to all of it. I believe in her. He added that she'll bring a voice and some solutions to this. So it definitely looks like this is definitely going to be an interesting campaign, and we're going to see how this all plays out and all of that. But we do know that she is running for office, and it'll be interesting to see what happens as the campaign goes on. And like I said, whether any other candidates come out as well. But right now, we do know that at least Elaine O'Neill is running. And of course, we're waiting to hear from Steve Schul also. So we're going to see if the current mayor is going to run. But we do know that Elaine O'Neill is set to run to be mayor here in Durham, North Carolina. So I may reach out to her and see if she wants to come on one of our shows. I know that I also need to reach out to the gentleman that is an African American gentleman that is running for office in Raleigh as well. So definitely there's some folks that I might try to reach out to and see if they're interested in coming and joining in our conversations as well. And speaking of violence and all of that, definitely a record number of people got shot in Durham in 2020, a year that saw gun violence spike in many cities across the state and the country. A total of 318 people were shot in the Bull City last year, compared to 189 people in 2019, according to a newly released preliminary data from the Durham Police Department. That is almost a 70% increase and the highest number of people shot in Durham since at least 2016, when the department began compiling the data. So definitely these are some shocking figures that we're seeing and all of that. 33 of the people shot last year died, compared to 32 in 2019, according to the preliminary data. Durham Police Chief C.J. Davis said during a November press conference that a small number of mostly young people were responsible for many of the shootings in the Bull City. A reduction in Durham's jail population to help stem the fight with COVID-19 had also had an impact on the gun violence, Davis said. Many of the shootings in Durham were gang-related drive-by shootings, she added. The one of our local newspapers, it actually looks like they were trying to reach some of these folks involved in that at the time to get some further comments, but so far they were not able to have any luck. In response to the shootings, the city council recently agreed to partner with and expand the county health department's violence interruption and outreach program, Bull City United. The program currently operates in Southside and McDougal Terrace, but the program could expand to Oxford Manor and Bragtown and an area encompassing Cornwallis Road. Overall, there were 37 homicides in Durham in 2020 compared to 38 in 2019, the police numbers shows. 2 deaths were caused by personal weapons, 1 was caused by asphyxiation, and 1 was caused by a blunt object. Shooting victims in Durham range from babies not even a year old to people over the age of 65. There were 266 shooting victims between the ages of 16 and 44, and 47 of the shooting victims were under the age of 18. There were 31 domestic shooting incidents in which 8 people were shot and 1 person died. There were 2 other domestic homicides not caused by shooting. So that's just some of the things that we were seeing in the news that folks may be interested in learning more about and things along that line. Don't forget that at around 7 o'clock, I will be shifting from the streaming podcast world to the world of other types of podcasting and checking out the audio podcast and all of that. So that'll be coming your way at about 7 o'clock. So y'all can go to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark over there at Blog Talk Radio. And I think we've got some folks that are actually dealing with folks making the transition out of the correction system that will be joining us on that particular show and all of that. But, in the meantime, and I may come back with some more news items and all of that, I'm going to let y'all check out some of the great other shows that exist here on our platform as well. I know a lot of folks are always interested in hearing about the amazing shows that we have. You heard me earlier today talking about Talking Upstream, and I am a big fan of the Talking Upstream platform and all of that. So definitely going to let y'all check out a little bit about what they are all about, as well as a few other shows that exist here on this platform as well. Because, we have some amazing shows that exist here on a regular basis. So I know a lot of folks are very excited by what is going on here at the International Broadcast Media. And of course, I am glad to be a part of this great network and this great family. So definitely want y'all to be learning many more of the kinds of shows that exist here and how y'all can get involved in those and various levels. So definitely we hope that you will check out our various shows. But one of them that I am a big fan of is Sasha Stars, when he talks about investing. And we do know that investing is something that a lot of folks need to do more of at this day and time. So I want to give you that one as well as a clip from Talking Upstream. If I remember correctly, Brother Mike had actually asked me to be part of this other show that I'm going to be talking about as well. So if I remember correctly, Brother Mike had wanted me to be part of Mind Closet coming up this week. I know I was a guest on his show a couple of times, and if I remember correctly, the 29th was another date that he asked me to be on that show. So I actually need to reach out to him and see if my memory is serving me correctly and that he wants me to be part of that show on that particular day. But let's check out what Mind Closet is all about as well. Yes, and a lot of things are going on in our society, and a lot of things are happening that folks are very much concerned about. Matter of fact, I'm still waiting to find out when we're going to get the show about social intelligence, but I'm hoping that that's going to be coming up shortly and versus later. But I do know that that's another show that I am a big fan of.
My name's Brandon. I'm a world traveler, foodie, and YouTuber. Together, you and I will find the best travel hacks, tips, and best places to explore. Join me as we find new adventures together, live only on IBM.TV.
And that's just some of the things that are going on in society and all of that. So definitely learning more and more about a variety of issues that are happening in the world and all of that. As a matter of fact, I was just talking online to my good friend, Reverend Curtis Gatewood, and hopefully he'll be able to pop in and share about a protest that he is part of as well. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to pop in and share a little bit about what's going on with that, because it does seem like they're having a major event that is taking place here in the near future and all of that. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to pop in and share a little bit about what's going on in that regard. So we do know that a lot of times there are newsbreakers out there that are always doing some amazing things, and I definitely consider Reverend Curtis Gatewood to be one of those great newsmakers and all of that. So definitely we're hoping that he'll pop in and be able to say what he's learning and being involved with on this current thing that he is a part of and all of that. So definitely hoping that he'll get a chance to pop in. I sent him the link, and hopefully he'll get a chance to come and join in the conversation and let folks know exactly what is going on. But I did see that he had some things going on in his things that he is part of an advocacy of, and he might even have some thoughts about the current person that is running for mayor. Who knows? Maybe he'll decide to run for mayor as well. So, we can't tell what folks might do or what some of their different interests might be and things of that nature. I do know he is part of a great activist family, not just himself, but also his wife, who I believe is from my hometown of Warrenton, as well as his daughter, who I've had the pleasure of working with on a couple of things, because they are definitely part of our advocacy community here in this area. So definitely that's great to see. And on a different level, on the level of entrepreneurship, it looks like our local airport has landed a new low-cost airline that aims to attract leisure travelers. That's right. They're aiming to attract leisure travelers here in the area. So definitely going to learn more about that and everything that they've got going on. But it does look like there is a major leisure traveling airline that is going on as well. So it looks like Sun County Airlines has announced Monday that it will begin offering regular flights from Raleigh-Durham International Airport for the first time this spring. Sun Country will fly twice a week round trip between RDU and its hub at Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport starting on May 14th. The budget airline says it will operate the flights Mondays and Fridays through Labor Day using 737-800 aircrafts. Sun Country becomes the 11th airline to operate out of RDU and joins Allegiant, Frontier, and Spirit in catering to leisure travelers. So seems like that's what they're going for. And Michael Landguth, the airport's president, described Sun Country as an established airline known for good customer service at an affordable rate. But, whether they got the airlines going or we got other important things going on, we know that Reverend Curtis Gatewood is always part of a lot of things that are going on in our community and all of that. So glad to see my good brother, Reverend Gatewood, pop in here. And I saw that you were part of a protest that's getting ready to come up. So I'm sure folks are interested in learning more about this and all the amazing justice work that you do on a regular basis. You are definitely one of our true justice warriors. And you're also now part of the podcasting family, because I know that you've got a podcast that you do that celebrates with some of your family members and all of that. So this is the one that I do on the streaming platform that's both audio and visual. But I definitely, as I was reading reading stuff, I saw, wow, Reverend Gatewood has got stuff going on again, and that's what we need is having some folks that'll raise some cane when the cane is needed to be raised. So we know that you're oftentimes good at that and definitely a great advocate and all of that. So I'd love to hear more about what's going on because it looks like we've got folks acting wrong again in the field of justice.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Am I
I
coming
do.
through?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear.
Great, great, great. First of all, thank you, dear brother Mark Lee. Again,
Yes.
you cannot be underestimated or underappreciated based upon how you're continuously communicating with the community. Unfortunately, we do not have enough people who are actually giving people the information whereby when we work in the community,
Right.
whether we have black media or whether we have black radio talk shows or whatever we can have that would help to get the masses involved and informed, then we can never underestimate the price. I call it a state of emergency. We have a state of emergency in Durham.
Oh wow.
Um, we
Yeah,
have
tell us about that. Yeah, I want to hear more
the
about that
Durham
state of
Housing
emergency.
Authority. You are probably aware of.
Right.
Yeah, you're probably aware of earlier, I think it was in 2019, 2020, there were some issues with the McDougal Terrace housing complex where many people had to
Yes.
evacuate based upon carbon monoxide poisoning and some other issues that were going on.
Yes, I remember that.
Hold on a minute.
Yep.
I'm in a car. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, okay, hold on 1 minute. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
back up just 1 minute. But what is going on is we are going to be coming to Durham along with some of the residents on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, which is January 27th at
Right.
2 p.m. So what we need people to do is make sure you mark your calendars for 2 p.m. Wednesday. We're going to meet in front of Durham Housing Authority, which I think is located at 330 East Main Street
Uh huh.
at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. And what we're doing is there is a video that had been surfaced on Facebook that was brought to my attention.
Okay.
And one of the things that we found, or that was mainly very disturbing in the video, this particular resident, in fact, I know her mother, Janet Johnson, who recently moved to Alamance County, where I am now. Her daughter lives in, I think it's Hoover Road Apartments.
Uh-huh.
And there, I think she's gone through about 3 stoves where she continuously asked for a stove that would not give off gases or would allow her to be able to cook without having issues with her oven or the things coming up that were coming out of the stove. She initially
Wow.
thought it was a stove, but evidently it's more than that. There's some connections that are obviously malfunctioning, and that I would consider to be very dangerous, which could possibly not only lead to carbon monoxide, possibly an explosion, so on and so forth. So they say they have rectified the problem thus far, but we are not satisfied because it always the children out, and maybe Durham Housing Authority will come in, especially once it gets some media exposure. But that's a dangerous situation because the parents are not always going to come to the media. They're not going to always speak out. Some are, in fact, concerned about whether they'll be retaliated against if they do come out and speak. So we have to come together in this matter. The community, we're calling on churches, we're calling on other advocates who can speak to this matter and let it be known under no uncertain terms, or we're going to allow any entity to kill our people, especially when we're talking about neighborhoods filled with black women, black children disproportionately,
Mm.
and elderly. There are some housing authority apartments that are filled with elderly citizens.
Right.
And we have to speak in their defense. And so we have a sister, Cheryl Smith, who's also
Hmm.
a resident in Durham Housing Authority. She's the one put together a
Right.
video. They've been advocating for a long time about what is going on through the Durham Housing Authority. So we're doing a few things. Number one, we want to make sure that the Durham Housing Authority address these matters once and for all. Enough is enough. Okay, and so that's one thing. So we want to make sure that they're immediately inspecting all of their units. We're not wanting them to do one at a time when someone cries out and then they go in and maybe. We want all of those units examined,
Mm.
investigated, inspected. Each unit in the Durham Housing Authority, regardless of whether it's Few Gardens, whether it's Hoover Road, whether it's McDougal Terrace, or wherever it might be. We want those units across the city of Durham inspected. Number two, we want the immediate elimination of any deadly gases
Right.
that could be coming through, any deadly pollutants that could be coming through causing sickness. These are silent killers that we're talking about. They already have to face violence in their streets, in their neighborhoods, and through police officers who are misdirected and misguided and using misconduct. That's bad enough. Now for them to have to go home in the comfort of their, or at least should be the comfort of their own homes, and they're being silently killed through these
Wow.
poisonous pollutants. So we see this as a state of emergency in Durham, North Carolina, and I would guarantee you it's probably happening in various parts of the state and nation.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
So
environmental
in
justice.
Durham on Wednesday, again, we're going to be making some demands, and we would like to have the support of the community because this is a matter of life and death. This is not just something we're getting out here to do to be in front of the cameras. In fact, I've tried to pull back from the media cameras and all this other stuff. We want the work done. And if someone else is willing to do the work, fine. I'm not here to fight with anybody who wants to get out here and do the work. We just want our people saved. We want women and children to be safe in their homes. We want black people to stop dying prematurely through either violence, through environmental racism, whatever may be killing them and making them sick prematurely. We just want it to stop.
That makes a lot of sense, Reverend Gatewood, and I can definitely see where people would be definitely, hopefully, attending with you on this rally and everything of that nature. I had actually said earlier today that I was reading in today's paper that, and I guess it came out earlier today, so I'm guessing it'll be in tomorrow's paper if it's not officially in today's, that Judge Elaine O'Neill has said that she's going to be running for mayor, and I'm assuming that part of that is because of what you just said, that she's not finding that our current administration is doing enough in terms of the relationships with between our community and our police officers, and definitely a lot of things going on with McDougal Terrace and a lot of the other housing communities. Because I know that even over there, as a member of the law school, that she was definitely involved in some of these struggles and everything. So I don't know whether our current mayor has announced, but she did announce that she is going to be running for mayor this year and everything. So that's some other news that came out today. I don't know what your thoughts are of her running for office, or just whether we need some more progressives in general running for a number of these seats. But what are your thoughts as to our leadership? Are you happy with our leadership, or do you think we need new leadership?
Well, you see, sometimes you have to evaluate people individually
Right.
because we can't always lump everyone in a group. So I do believe in being fair. I believe in due process. I believe in letting people show what they are doing, what they've been working on, what the agenda is, what they have accomplished. So that might take some individual analysis.
Right.
But in general, we do need leadership in Durham. We need leadership really throughout the nation. I'm glad to see that Goliath has left the White House, at least for
Yes.
now.
Yes.
But we do not want to underestimate or at least think that everything's okay because he's gone.
Right.
We want to make sure that every community, and I'm glad to see, by the way, Sister O'Neill step up.
Mm.
But in every community, there is a need for leadership. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we do not have it. If we had it, we would not be going through some of the things that we're going through right now. There is absolutely no excuse for a community filled with our people to continue where the residents are continuing to have to cry to just be able to live. I mean, making
Right.
sure that your refrigerator's fixed, that's one thing. And that's bad enough because they are going through having to have their refrigerators fixed. They're going through months and periods where they're trying to get the bathroom and things like that. But under no uncertain terms can we tolerate environmental poisoning coming through these homes on a regular basis. These are silent killers, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
I don't know if it's through stupidity, through management stupidity. I don't know if through their incompetence. I don't know if it's as a part of a conspiracy, but I do know we as a community is going to have to make it stop immediately. And what
No. You.
another thing we want to do, brother, is we want to speak to the faith community. We
Yes.
want to speak to the faith community through this movement because really we should not have to depend on the oppressor's ways and how he will oppress and destroy and kill and you can use the devil's techniques when we have so many churches around us.
Right.
The church community should be appalled. And one of the things we need, the reason we need the church community is these residents shouldn't have to depend solely on when Durham Housing Authority decides when they're going to take somebody out and relocate them in the need of such an emergency.
Mm.
The church should be there. I think God made it so. He made sure they stopped playing church. Most of these churches are vacant now. They're not meeting on Sundays. I don't see why any of these residents, parents who are going through some of these problems, can't go to one of these churches and stay in the fellowship hall till some of these things are worked out, where they might have a working stove, where they might have a clean place, a safe place where people can come in. I don't see why some of these churches where all this money has been spent and they're sitting there because of COVID has basically shut them down. And I
Right.
believe it's God that shut them down because some of them should have been shut down. But these are facilities that I would hope that we can meet with pastors, some of these ministerial groups like the Durham Ministerial Alliance, Durham Can, other religious organizations. I'm hoping that they can be a part of this so that they can adopt the family. One of these families or more than one, however, whatever their budget or their capacity will allow, but start adopting some of these families. So when something does happen like this, they can go right to that church and have a place to come in and stay while we fight whatever systemic red tape we might have to fight in the process. They need to be safe in the meantime. And so we need the families to be protected. And the quickest and the best way to do that is through the faith community.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because a good friend of mine is actually lives in an apartment complex. Actually, lives in the same one that I live in and everything. But he's gone through some hard times every once in a while with his own apartment living and things of that nature. And I do know that he reached out to some of our area churches and was basically given, in a lot of cases, what would amount to lip service. Folks that were
Right.
saying that they might do this or they might do that, and they either gave little or nothing. And so I think that we've definitely got to get away from folks giving lip service when a lot of our folks are in need, and not just those that are in those housing projects, but even some of those that are in apartment complexes and other things that have been struck by the job market and things of that nature and are struggling to pay rent and things of that nature. And I do know that there are kind of like eviction rules and things about how whether you can be evicted or not. And of course, the courts are going through a number of things, but there are ways that they even get around some of those rules and still try to find ways to get you out if they want you out. So definitely, I think that our faith community can step up at a greater level, like you just said and everything, because I know I've had friends that have approached different church leaders and have been highly disappointed by the response that they have gotten. And I know that you come out of that faith community, but you and Reverend Kennedy and a number of others, I would say, are some of the more progressive folks that I know, unlike some of the other ones that may even claim to be progressive, but may not be as progressive as they claim. And another thing that you talked about, and I'd love to hear you just talk about this really quickly and everything, is environmental justice. And I do know that environmental justice is something very important that was actually grown out of that whole area that I grew up in and your wife's people grew up in as well, which is that Warren County area. So I'd love you if you could talk to our global community about the importance of environmental justice, because the international broadcast media, which I'm part of, is a global community. And I think that environmental justice is something that is a worldwide crisis, and that COVID is part of what is going on with environmental justice as well as climate change. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely, brother. One thing that we need to really remember, every way in which we are being killed will not be blatant. It will not be conspicuous. There will be ways that we are being killed that are what they refer to as silent killers.
Right.
And the environment is a silent killer. That is a way in which sometimes governmental authorities, business dealers, the business community, and others, if you're not paying attention, they will be targeting their waste to Black communities. And the movement that you're talking about with Reverend White and Brother Benjamin Chavis and all them who came out of Warren County fighting, of course, that was what, around the 70s, because that was even before I moved into this area.
Yeah, it was around
Where
the
they,
70s.
right, where they actually came out. That's where, of course, my wife is from, Warren County. That's in fact where Brother Floyd McKissick Sr., not
Right.
Junior, Sr., was down there working on Soul City,
Right.
trying to make some things happen there. And so there was some great things going on there. And so they came actually to the wrong place. They actually came where people were actually conscious.
Right.
And the bad thing about it is when you have this environmental interference and there's no one paying attention.
Right.
That was not the case in Warren County.
Right.
Unfortunately, that was more the exception than the rule.
Right.
Because usually we are not paying attention when there is some type of a landfill or something being placed in our area, or when there are other things going on with our water, or things, whether it be lead or whether it be things like going on now in Few Gardens, where people have a whole big complex of Black people, and the next thing you know, you're starting to get headaches, and you don't know why.
Right.
Your children are starting to move a little slow, and you don't know why. You're starting to see cancer and different things coming up in younger people and people who would not normally be falling into that category with no history of cancer, so on and so forth. So this is dangerous stuff. And so we need a national movement. We need a local movement. We always need people paying attention to the environmental issues facing our people. Because again, everybody's not going to come in with a gun shooting. The police is not going to be shooting everybody. But there are ways that we can be killed in the so-called comfort of our homes. And that's through the environment, through water, through air, through food. And those are things that really can take us out, and we really have to be paying attention. So I'm glad to know that you are involved.
Involved in also involved in also studying. As a matter of fact, I just saw that earlier today, Duke Energy customers will be getting able to save $1.1 billion, but that's because North Carolina just reached a settlement because of the coal ash bill, which had taken place sometime back and everything. So,
like I said, I mean,
you were part of that fight as well. So would you share a little bit about that? Because like I said, that was a major victory that just happened in terms of people getting money. But hopefully we won't have the case where people have to go through so much hardship that they have to wait several years later in order to get their reward. And some of them already gone, because I'm imagining that there's a lot of the folks that were involved in this coal ash fight that unfortunately will not get to see the rewards because they were involved in the early stages of that spiel and have already lost their life because of what happened in that situation. That's what I'm thinking. But
Yeah, well, but as a part of HKMJ Historic Thousands on Jones Street, of course, that was a part of the North Carolina NAACP, and through the grace of God, I was one of the pioneers who worked closely with the North Carolina NAACP leadership. And what happened is we actually started organizing around 2006,
Well,
and in 2006, we in 2007 we had our first massive march in downtown Raleigh, and it
mhm,
became an annual march every February,
right,
the second February of each month. But as a part of that movement, we had various partners who would partner with the HKMJ partners. That's what we refer to them as.
right,
HKMJ, of course, was the acronym for Historic Thousands on Jones Street. And the reason Jones Street is because the General Assembly is located at 116 West Jones Street.
right.
So Jones Street was a part of the movement. That's where you get the J from. So as a part of that, we had, of course, a 14-point agenda.
Hmm.
And of course, one of those points, of course, dealt with the environment or at various kinds of injustices that we were facing. And we had various environmental groups who were a part of our coalition.
Right,
So it was through their efforts largely that they paid attention to a lot of these issues involving coal ash, fracking, and the various other issues as they pertain to the environment. And so we would often have someone that would speak as a part of our coalition regarding the and whatever issues there might have been going on. And at that time, like you said, Duke Energy, they were going through some terrible things that they were doing with coal ash.
right,
And as a part, the movement came together and we started having rallies in various parts. In fact, NAACP was starting to have some of their branches were having various rallies regarding the coal ash
hmm,
spill, waste, and all the other things that were taking place through Duke Energy. I know Duke Energy was pretty much trying to negotiate, compromise, so on and so forth, even during that time. But the
right,
protests were hot, and we're basically, just trying to bring the issue to the people's attention. And fortunately, there were people paying attention. A lot of our audiences were white audiences.
right,
A lot of we have to educate our people on environmental
right,
movements
right,
because I noticed a lot of our audiences would be white,
right,
um, and but they're because they were also part of some of the areas that were being impacted, especially in the western parts of the state in various places. So they were actually coming out larger. But the African American community, we have to do as you are doing,
right.
making sure we understand how these issues are impacting our communities. And so, with that being the case, there were several rallies, marches, demonstrations that were taking place around this issue. Um, Even though our movement actually started in 2006, I think the spill happened later.
Okay.
Yeah, as we had become more organized, like in 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014, we were really starting to heat up. We were dealing with Pat McCory and the General Assembly that had also started doing these things like couldn't because one of our main problems were is that 500,000 people were being denied Medicaid expansion while we were facing these environmental issues.
Well,
In other words, people were being having their health care removed while they were being poisoned. And
well,
so we saw that as a serious issue during that time of the McCory administration, and of course the General Assembly, similarly made up by a majority of extremists who are passing legislation that will always be in the detriment to African Americans and low income people. Whatever they're doing, whether it's reducing things that will help to protect the environment, they're doing the opposite. And so we have to pay attention to the North Carolina General Assembly and others who are passing legislation that will favor people like Duke Energy and all these other companies. Of course, Trump, he was also doing that, making sure that a lot of the protecting efforts that have been made to reduce these threats of the environment were being removed and being released. And so we have to pay attention to that as well. So the thing about it is the whole North Carolina movement has to step it up. We have to pay attention to Georgia. We have to see what they're doing because they're starting to motivate, inspire, get people out to vote, pay attention to what is going on, becoming more politically astute, finding out what is going on with this legislation that's being passed, because a lot of legislation can be environmentally poison, uh, and that's what we have to pay attention to as well.
Yeah, we definitely have to pay attention to that. And one of the other things, and then I've got to wrap this one up and get ready to do my more regular audio podcast in a few minutes and everything. But one of the things that I was curious about is I know a lot of times when we get new leadership, particularly if it's new quote unquote progressive or moderate leadership, we sometimes as activists get content. So what
Absolutely.
message would you give to people about not being content just because Biden and Kamala are in office? And don't get me wrong, I'm glad that we've got a sister in office, and definitely glad that we have Biden in office as well. And it definitely beats, as you called it, the Goliath that was there earlier and everything. But what message would you give to folks to encourage them to not be content? Because I do think that that even happened to some degree when Barack came into office.
It happened a lot to the degree when Barack came in office, because what people need to understand is there's always going to be a backlash. Always know, anytime there is a half step of progress, there's going to be 20 steps of backlash coming in your direction.
Right.
And if you think for a moment that we can let up because we made a half step, then we're in for a rude awakening. Just check the cycle throughout history. Anytime there has been a movement going forward, the backlash has already been planned and ready.
Right.
And so what happened in the case of Barack Obama, when he was elected, people went home and went to sleep. During midterm, they brought out, in other words, hate came out to vote, hope stayed home.
Right.
And so they came out and they made sure they basically cleaned house and left Barack Obama surrounded by these snakes. And so you can elect whom you want, but they're not going to be able to work by themselves.
Right.
And so and there's going to have to be a constant push. And what happened was, when Barack Obama, the main backlash that showed its face was the so-called Tea Party.
Right.
If you notice, there has been no Tea Party. Nobody's drinking tea. Nobody has drunk tea since Barack Obama left.
Right.
But during that time, the Tea Party was out talking about, claiming that they were there to stop wasteful spending, when they did not care one thing about wasteful spending. They knew a black man was in the White House, and they wanted to make sure he didn't spend one penny that could possibly help black people. That was the only spending they were concerned about. They showed you that with Trump. Trump went right in, took the debt right back up the trees. They cared nothing about that.
Right.
They were afraid of things like reparations, things that might be preventive care types of things, or intervention. Those are the things they were worried about: intervention, reparations, things that could actually help black people. And
Right.
so if we are not there, believe me, not only will we not get the things that we need, but you would also be taken backwards right while you think you've gone forward. You'll see a moonwalk, the Michael Jackson moonwalk. You'll think you're going forward, and you'll be going backwards, because the people who actually elected Barack, or elected Biden, or elected Kamala Harris went back and went to sleep and just turned them over to the vultures.
Wow.
And so we have to stand every time, every day, in season, out of season. We have to be out there, and we have to. And it's like a quilt. You can't start making your quilt in the wintertime.
Right.
By the time the wintertime comes, the quilt has to be made. So therefore, when you think you don't see trouble, you still should be making that quilt. When you don't see the blizzard, you're making the quilt. And we, as a movement, as people, we need to constantly be organizing, because racism is not going anywhere.
No, racism is definitely not going anywhere. We've seen that. And I know I was not all that surprised when I saw the amount of hate groups that are out there, whether it's the Proud Boys or a number of other things. And I'm imagining you weren't surprised either that this kind of vitriol is out there in our society and things of that nature. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about both that insurrection that they tried to have about 2 or 3 weeks ago and everything, as well as the fact that it has been going on for a number of years. And there are hundreds of these hate groups that are out there and everything. And a lot of them, we may not even know their names. Of course, everybody knows QAnon and they know the Proud Boys and the ones that have put their face out there. But were you not overly surprised by the amount of vitriol that there is out there by some of our society members of other races and other classes?
I was not. And this is sometimes why I feel like God needs to give me a bigger platform. Not because of an ego, not because of I need to be validated, but I like to warn the people. And I've been saying this in my little group, saying we should be focusing on, and again, out of season, not waiting until the giant wake up and it's fed and emboldened by the Trumpites and all these other things. But while things were calm, I was saying we need to make sure KKK, all these racist terrorist groups are abolished. We need to make sure we are calling for the abolishment of all terrorist, domestic terrorist groups. We should have been using that history of the KKK, more than 150-year-old organization where they murdered all these black people and they're still in existence. Why is that? They're talking about they're fighting terrorism all over, talking about Iran, talking about ISIS, talking about Al Qaeda, talking about the radical Islamic extremists and all this foolishness, talking about Hamas, when in fact we know we have the records here to show how many black people were murdered, massacred, hung, coup d'etat right there in Wilmington, North Carolina. We should have been dealing with these racists ever since they started. As a part of any movement, there should have also been a simultaneous movement to shut down and eliminate white supremacist terrorists, because they have been allowed to grow, to recruit, to they're part of now the soil of America. They've been embedded into the environment of America. So therefore, I'm not surprised. And another thing, as a part of Stop Killing Us, a part of the movement that we're dealing with through the Justice Administration. Of course, I'm the founder of Justice Administration,
Right.
where we gave birth to the Stop Killing Us Solution campaign. And one of the solutions we have said all the time since 2017 was that there needs to be the elimination of the Ku Klux Klan and all of other white supremacist groups, and use the Defense Department to do it. New Black Panther Party, old Black Panther Party, they are not prepared to deal with the guns that's been allowed to accumulate through these racist groups. We need the U.S. Defense Department, where we're paying out all of our money. They're getting this high percentage of the budget, about $1 trillion per year annually, into a defense budget that never defends black people. Black people are used to defend America's racist interests, but those soldiers and people who are fighting for the United States of America are never allowed, especially black people, to defend themselves. So the U.S. Defense Department should be using much of that money to eliminate racist terrorists. And so the reason why I wasn't surprised is because we've allowed racist terrorists to continue to be emboldened, continue to grow, while we're allowing politicians and our tax dollars to be put into a pot of so-called terrorists that are not even bothering us. They're not even really terrorists. Not for me, not that I see.
Yeah,
So the real terrorists have been allowed to grow and to be and January 6th just brought it to fruition. So how many times do the chickens have to come home to roost to understand that you can't just wait on something that you think going to kill black folk and allow that demon to continue to exist and be a part of the fabric of the society? You have to take these demons out, because one thing about it, a demon is going to come after anybody. Right now, they're just using black folk because we're easy targets. But if we were not here, they'll be using certain whites. They'll be using others. So we have to deal with these demons that we have as a part of America's fabric, because also they go into the workforce. When racists are allowed, racist terrorists, that you know you have terrorists in this country and you're doing nothing about it, they have jobs. They work in hospitals. They work as a part of the police force. They work in restaurants. We don't know how many times we've gotten sick or died and didn't know it because you had a racist terrorist back there working with your food. So
Yeah,
when we allow these terrorists to exist, you give them a gun and a badge, they're waiting on their opportunity to kill a black person, unarmed black person. So if we would just eliminate these racist terrorists, we would see a lot of difference that will happen in our society for the better.
yeah, definitely. And like I said, I got to wrap up in a few minutes, but I do have one other really quick question. I hope you can give me a quick answer. But I know that a lot of times people are so excited about the stimulus money, definitely glad to get to the stimulus money. I know I've got a couple of mine as well. But then I've heard the argument that some people are concerned that the stimulus money will kind of fall into that welfare money kind of system where you become dependent on it and you don't necessarily go out for the jobs or go out for the training or things of that nature. So when you hear that argument, what is your response to that? Because I have heard people say that they are concerned about the stimulus not necessarily growing the economy.
See, the thing about it is the same people who say that, they don't say that when they're giving trillions of dollars in tax breaks to white business owners.
Right.
And so what is good for the goose should be good for the gander. So if you're saying people who are making up everyday life, the workers, the people who are actually living in this society, if we can't receive the money, but you're supposed to be so good and so great and that you can, then that right there tells you we have a problem. That's a flawed argument
Right.
because they are not saying don't give it to us. They're saying don't give it to you.
Right.
And we have never trickled one nickel. Trickle down has never worked. And so to suggest that you're giving it to them, so it's going to eventually trickle down to us, we already know that has not worked. Ronald Reagan supposedly been talking about that. He's dead, and we haven't trickled a nickel yet.
Yeah.
So, so the trickle down argument does not work. People need to be provided these resources immediately, not because of what they might do with the money. We know for a fact it's no fault of their own that the jobs are not here. That's a fact. And so that's what we should be doing. The only thing they're doing now is trying to figure out how black people cannot get money. And that's what it boils down to. They're trying to figure out how can we send this money out and black people not get any of it. And so they figure if we cut the workers out, then we can cut out black folk because black folk are basically the frontline workers that you are seeing out here having to go to work every morning, COVID or no COVID. They're not getting these, they're not in these jobs where they can take off or take it easy or decide when they're going to go back to work or take their work home. They're going to have to be out here. And they're the main ones that need this money. But these are just racist code wording. That's racist code wording that you're
Right.
hearing, just like law and order,
Right.
racist code words. They don't give a damn. Excuse me. They don't care about law. They don't care about order. They don't care about saving money. They don't care about anything they're talking about. They are trying to represent the system of white supremacy. And in the system of white supremacy, they're always trying to figure out how can we keep the money out of the hands of black people. That's what they're trying to do.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you coming on at the last second and definitely sharing about the Wednesday event. And hopefully, folks will be going over there and checking it out. I know I've got my online dinner party, which is the other show that I do at 4, but I might try to make it by there at least for a minute or two if I can. But if
Yes, sir.
not, I will be there in spirit if I'm not there physically and everything. But I will definitely be giving you support, as you know, I oftentimes do and everything along
Yes,
those
sir.
lines. And
I
if there's
appreciate you, man.
no, I definitely appreciate you as well. And if you got any final words of encouragement that you would like to share with our global audience, I would love to hear that because definitely I know that we do have a global audience of folks from Nigeria, South Africa, as well as, of course, throughout the United States and just around the globe. So if you got any final words of encouragement that you would like to share with folks or let folks know how they can reach you and your movement, this is your chance to do that as I get ready to close everything out.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And anyone, feel free. You can call me at 919-939-6311. My email address is easy to remember. Just Gatewood Loves Justice. Just make sure you put the S on love. Gatewood Loves Justice at gmail.com. Shoot me out an email. And what I do think is during this time, we have to make sure that the truth marches on. We allowed someone to lie for 4 years and just tell every lie in the book. There should have been more challenge to those lies, because when you don't challenge lives, it's going to lead to violence. It's going to lead to all the bad things that we are seeing. A lot of it has to do with lies. If you look at all of our history, all the things that have ever happened that were bad to people and humanity, it was based on lies. So anytime that we start allowing people who are in leadership to lie at free will and lie every day and every minute or in every sentence, then we are asking for trouble. So I just say in 2021, we need to make sure we let the truth march on. We need to make sure we read our history, we get the facts, we stand, because the truth is marching on. The truth shall make us free, and I will hope that everyone under the sound of my voice will pay attention, continue checking in with my brother Mark Lee and this outstanding show, and that we continue to connect and carry forward the truth, and we will win with the truth.
Yes, the truth is definitely how we win any of these great arguments and everything. And I definitely appreciate you being on, Reverend Gatewood, and everything. And definitely look forward to spreading the truth on a regular basis here on this show, as well as the other shows that we do here on the international broadcast media, as well as what I do on the audio podcast, which I've got to get ready to jump on and holler at my good friend Dean and everything. But I was glad that you were able to come on and share your wisdom and share what's going on with that struggle and what's happening there with the McDougal Terrace and with this particular rally that y'all are having on Wednesday. So definitely glad that you were able to come on and share a little bit about that, and look forward to seeing you back on this platform again in the very near future. Always know that you are welcome to come back and share your wisdom on a regular basis.
This is great, man. I appreciate you, brother. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. So on that note, we're going to wrap everything up, and I'm going to head on over to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark, but this is going to wrap up